Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Mayor, I have an additional adjustment.
Yes.
Me too.
I would like to amend the motion so that committee reports are following. Sorry, I'm getting my stuff set up here. Following the recognition of visitors and guests.
Okay. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All right, discussion from the board.
Okay. Yeah, my thinking is we have several people here who have been regular attendees at the streets flags discussion, and I think that they may be here for that, and to make them wait until the very end of the meeting would be poor use of their time.
Okay, I would, instead of going through all the committee reports, could we possibly just put that committee on? Because we have two meetings, two hearings that a lot of people are attending for those as well. And so I would hate to have all of those moved to the end of the meeting too. So if we make the streets after recognition of visitors and guests,
So
streets
moved.
committee. All right, we have a motion. Do you agree with that, Paige?
Yes, I do.
All right. Any further discussion from the board? All right.
Only on this motion? Is that all
Yeah,
you want?
only on the amendment to the motion
Okay.
that we're changing.
I
All
have
in favor?
aye.
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 Okay, opposed? All right, that amendment carries. So now we have a motion on the table to approve the agenda, eliminating item number 8 and moving the streets committee to after recognition of visitors and guests. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Aye.
that motion passes. All right, next
Can I make-
is,
Mary,
Yes.
can I make one suggestion? I noticed
Yes.
that the agenda has not agendized the Town of Paonia Public Records Policy, although it is in the packet.
right,
Has not been agendized. So,
right, we can discuss it at the administrator's report.
okay,
And since every item is an action item, we can take action on it that time.
okay, thank you.
All right, so next is announcements. Does anybody have an announcement? No? Okay, well, I do. I have a couple. We have a couple of open commissions commissions that have open seats. That is the Advisory Water Committee and the Planning Commission. We are accepting letters until August 3rd. Did I get that right, Corinne? August 3rd.
Yes.
So if you're
I may need
interested-
to open that longer. We may
Okay,
need to
well, at
open
this
that.
point, it's August 3rd. If we don't get any more, I do have one for the Planning Commission, but we need 2. So if we don't get another one, then we may have to move that out. Anyhow, all right. Any other things? Yes, Paige.
Mary, I just wanted to be a little bit more specific with the Advisory Water Committee. It's as last night, Mike Drake said he was not going to apply to be back on, which means we have an opening for an out-of-town user. There was a woman who applied back in March, and I'm going to reach out to her to see if she's still interested. And secondly, we have to have 2 in-town water users, and we had voted for Bill Bruner to be one of them. And so we still have an opening for an in-town water user.
Okay, thank you, Paige. All right, yes, Mr. Knudsen.
Just wanted to congratulate the mayor for winning the Masters Division in the Cherry Days 5K.
Thank you, Dave. I beat out 50-year-olds, I'll have you know.
Yay.
All right. Moving on to recognition of visitors and guests. Oh, I'm sorry, Thomas.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the chip sealing on 133 is going to start in early next month, and it's going to be going from north of town to the reservoir. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but it'll be happening.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yep.
The other thing that I forgot to mention too is that if you want to be recognized by the chair, you need to, if you are on the Zoom call, to raise your hand. There's a little raise hand thing down at the bottom of your screen. At least it's on my screen. And you can punch that and your hand will raise and then we can recognize you. If you are on the phone, you need to raise, or you need to punch in *9, and that will raise your hand. And then you will use *6 to mute and unmute yourself. All right. So recognition of visitors and guests. Is there anyone who would like to address the board about a subject that is not on the agenda? We have a raised hand from Joy Williams. Ms. Williams?
No, I actually just raised my hand to be
Oh,
recognized.
practice?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Littlefield, I saw you raise a hand.
Yes, Donna Littlefield, 129 Niagara. And I'm here to express my disappointment and concern for the manner in which the decision to separate the administrator and clerk position and essentially relieve Corinne from the administrator job was made. As a board, I'm confident none of you would accept the passing of a major decision, like taking a debt or a loan on of any kind of or amount, without the full participation of the entire board. This was a major decision and was executed as an end run. Not every trustee was present, and it was a play, obviously made to assure its success. A play right out of Mitch McConnell's playbook, if I might say. I remind you that Corinne was hired by the board at that time with the full knowledge and awareness that she didn't possess the education, training, or experience as an administrator. The council made the decision after 2 failed attempts to bring in outside administrators. She's been on the job for approximately 3 years. The hiring was done with expectations that the board should support her in that role, provide adequate supervision, education to support her success in the role. And I sincerely hope this board has made a full assessment of those efforts and are assured that all measures have been taken to support her before having made this decision.
Thank you, Ms. Littlefield. Would anyone else like to address the board on a subject that is not on the board? I know I have a message here from AS about how do you raise your hand. There should be a little hand icon on the bottom of your screen. Does somebody have a PC that has a different way to raise hands on it? Yes, Thomas.
The reactions button at the bottom next to share screen.
Okay.
And then raise hand is a button, a sub button under reactions.
So if you click on reactions, you can see there's several things. Well, there isn't one on mine, and I run a Mac.
Mhm.
I'm on
It's
a
got-
PC and that's on mine.
Okay, well, on the Mac one, I guess do a thumbs up or something so that we can still see what you got going there. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
it works on my Mac.
Oh, okay, so whatever it is with my Mac. All right, so we have a hand raised from last 4 digits, 2296. Please identify yourself. From last 4 digits, 2296. All right, you have to press *6 to unmute yourself. All
Hello,
right.
can you hear me?
Ah, now I can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you. This is Bill Brunner. Hello?
Go ahead. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I want to applaud your decision to separate the administrator and clerk's job. When things don't work, you have to make changes. My other comment is that I have asked the mayor for an agenda item for a complaint about the way Cora's requests are handled, and we've had extensive email communication. She's denied my request, but then it ended today with an email from the mayor telling me to take my complaint to the board. And so I'm asking, how can I do that when I'm denied a place on the agenda? And I have the suggestion that perhaps there's a committee that I can start with.
I would suggest
Hello?
you start with the Personnel Committee.
Okay, Will the Personnel Committee inform me of the next meeting? Or when we can get together?
That would be Ms. Smith and Mr. Valentine.
Can-
Yes.
Can you, why is his complaint about public records coming to the Personnel Committee? I'm sorry, when I don't
I
quite
have no
understand.
idea.
Well, the
I don't
thing
think
is-
it's appropriate either.
I just don't understand why we would be designated. I'm not privy to all the emails. I haven't read them all today, but if it's a question about how the public records have been applied, wouldn't that still go back to you and Dave as the Public Records Subcommittee, ad hoc committee? I'm just asking. Sorry.
Is there a Public Records Committee?
No, there is
Yeah,
not. There was an ad hoc committee to look at the public records policy, which we did and completed. So that a committee no longer exists.
So could I
Well,
ask?
So, how do I take this to the board if I can't get on the agenda?
Well, I would say make your case right now. You have 3 minutes, do it. And then if the board wants to take action, they can do that.
That's not appropriate. That's not appropriate.
Yes,
I
that
have
is
a
appropriate,
serious-
Mr.
serious
Bruner,
issue.
because I have reviewed your complaint extensively. And sir, it is without merit. And I'm not going to bring
Well,
a
that's
spurious
your
complaint to the
opinion,
board
Mary.
without merit. Please mute
That-
Mr. Bruner.
Mary,
Here.
let me say,
Mayor.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Markle.
Yeah, I move that we add a Cora policy discussion to next, the August 11th agenda.
Okay. All right.
I will second that.
Discussion from the board?
If I may, mostly I don't understand what Bill is asking that can't be addressed when we go over the new revised public records policy. Is it over and above what's in this policy? Is that
Well,
the issue?
he has a specific issue with the way his last Cora request was handled.
Okay, so it's past. We're talking history as opposed to
Yeah.
what we're looking. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, any other discussion from the board? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second to put the Cora policy. Yes, Mr. Markle?
I do have additional discussion. As we were all CC'd on the emails, I did follow the discussion, and I do think it's appropriate to have this conversation. I'm prepared to do it tonight, but if it's better to do it, I don't know what the agendas look like, which is kind of the problem. So I don't know if we have more availability tonight or on the 11th.
Probably on the 11th. Would you agree, Ms. Ferguson?
The 11th will have the longer work session. Again, I would think that if it was going to be a larger conversation where decisions were going to be made, it probably should be on an agenda.
Okay. Then let's-
Because the administrator's report is just a report and really is a report an opportunity to answer questions more than to take specific action would be my understanding. Of course, we may want to defer to Jeff for that.
Well, I think let's put it on the 11th. All right, all in favor of having a Cora policy? Mr. Bruner's Cora policy brought up on the August 11th agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? All right, that motion passes. All right, anyone else who would like to address the board on a subject that is not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, then let's move ahead to the Streets Committee. Mr. Markle.
Okay, so I have to relocate to my Streets Committee zone in my document here. Okay, so we had, at the last meeting, we had 28 people comment on, more than that show up, but 28 commented. And essentially what we have right now is two groups of people. One group would like to see, and I'm going to talk about specific flags here because they've been brought up. But one group essentially would like to see pride flags specifically prohibited, and the other would like to see them specifically accommodated. Some people have been very direct about their discussion. I've been trying to phrase our discussion as an overarching policy and stay away from individual discussions, just as a good, a matter of good policy. So basically those arguments or two sides, I say, of the matter are divided into two policy approaches. One is to restrict the display of flags to the US and Colorado flags only. And the other is to include National Heritage Months as an established inclusive flag policy. And having discussed this with John and offered to add his comments as well, John, you can feel free to jump in here as well. But our current recommendation is for neither of those options. A policy of United States and Colorado flags only doesn't preclude anyone else from petitioning the board for an exception. And that would make us start this whole process all over again. And it also precludes us from having any other flags or banners like the American flag banners or the Welcome to Paonia, the town of Paonia banners that are up there right now. So I think that that's a poor solution. On the other side, there's no authoritative list for National Heritage Months. The best I can find is Wikipedia, which right now includes July 1984 as National Ice Cream Month, declared by President Reagan. So I feel like we don't want to bind our decision to the whims of any individual and give up our right as a board to determine our voice, which I think is a big no-no as just a matter of policy. So the current policy recommendation, I sent it out to everybody by email. I took a snapshot of it and sent it by document, Word doc with the comments. And I think the comments are really important. The public can't see the comments right now due to technical errors, or I guess technicalities. We have to allow the public to add comments if they can see comments, and that creates a records retention not. So right now, we summarize the approach is to create a framework for the board to allow consideration of placement of banners and flags over the streets and sidewalks. The voice of the board must be maintained unless we want to enumerate exactly what can and cannot be displayed. And this ties directly into the recent Supreme Court case, Shurtleff v. Boston. And essentially, I'm going to read from their syllabus here. It says, they say, the Supreme Court says that the free speech clause does not prevent the government from declining to express a view. And they reference Pleasant Grove City versus Summum. And the government must be able to decide what to say and what not to say when it states an opinion, speaks for the community, formulates policies, or implements programs. The boundary between government speech and private expression can blur when, as here, the government invites the people to participate in a program. In those situations, the court conducts a holistic inquiry to determine whether the government intends to speak for itself or rather to regulate private expression. So what we need to do is make sure we're speaking for ourselves and our policy here. If we allow anything, if we have a very broad and unrestricted policy, then essentially what we are doing is allowing people to use our streets as a forum for free speech. And then we lose the right to regulate that because that's completely un-American. So that was the basis of how we came up with these recommendations. Some of the sticking points that I would like the board's input on are the fourth whereas and the recitals. There's some language there. It reads the people of Paonia wish to make the use of streets, rights of way, distribution poles, and street lighting poles to enhance the character of town, promote town events, and to express community messages of inclusion, peace, friendship, tolerance, civic and municipal pride, love, compassion, and community. And that was contentious in our last meeting. So I am requesting the board supply language there if they wish to see alternative language in that fourth whereas to supply it. And I'll talk about how we're going to be doing this in a second. Second, part A of the standards that is federal and state flags. I would like to note that we can, oh, hey, yeah, I can share my screen here. Hang on a second. Rick, you just reminded me. Oh, yes, I can. Okay. sorry, I can't, I want
Well, and
install.
Rick's
Yeah.
screen is not
Yeah.
sharing very well.
Okay, yeah, so anyway,
Rick,
the,
just Thomas, Rick, can you unshare your screen, please? Because it's not displaying properly. Thank you.
okay, so
Okay.
regarding the standards of display, we should consider that an option here is to add a town flag, to create a town flag. State and federal law expressly allow us to display them, and it would be a unified and unique symbol for our town. It wouldn't be borrowed from any other groups, so it would be, by definition, completely inclusive of everyone in Paonia. But we'd have to do the work of creating the flag itself. So I don't know if we want to do that, just as an option. This is a note in the document as it stands now. So if we want to make it cut and dried, we can eliminate everything in B. And that will be US and Colorado flags only, but we will have nothing else. If we want to ever allow anything other than those two flags, part B was the approach to that we took. And we have definitions for ceremonial and commemorative flags and special occasion flags that are pretty expansive. As many folks noted in our last meeting, we define it as a flag other than United States or Colorado flag associated with a specific historical event, cause, nation, tribe, or group. And a special occasion flag is a flag, banner, or display associated with an event or occasion of the nation, state, town, county, or region. So those are really broad because we want this to be applied to anything that somebody brings. We don't want to create loopholes in our definitions. Next comment should be on part B2. There was a lot of concern about the subsequent processes. Say if somebody has something they want to fly and it's approved 1 year, what happens the next year, subsequent year, do they have to reapply? And the language here is written that they do have to apply. It's approved by simple motion, so it could be done by consent agenda. So it would essentially take us no time if everybody's good with it. If for whatever reason we have a problem with it, it could be reviewed. And then the most contentious of all is section B3, which excludes specific flags. Now, basically, if we want to use our own voice, we have to determine the conversation. And I feel, and John feels, that a discussion about religion and politics are straight out of the, like a straight no. And we had language in here that was intended to prevent hate speech, but it was contentious as well. And if we want to include that, we need to reword it to a more specific interpretation. So that's the current state of the document. What I would like to do moving forward is pass management of the document off to Corinne so that we can receive board input. Right now, we can't have any board input directly to John and I as part of our committee. I think that right now our committee has done basically the foundational work for it. And from this point, I'd like to see if we can get the board to send in modification and preparation for possible adoption as a resolution on the 11th. And I don't know if that's a good time frame. That might be optimistic. I don't know. Regardless, we will be meeting again next Thursday, August 4th at 5 p.m. And I hope that we can have all the incorporated feedback from the board and public at that time. And that concludes my statement for the streets.
Okay, John, do you have anything to add to that?
That was a good summary. There are two sets of views that are pretty irreconcilable. So to distill it down to kind of a simplest summary, what we've had to do here is to move away from things like the language in 3C to have the board make decisions case by case. I'm not sure if case by case is necessarily a good way to put it. I don't want to portray it as though we've simply shoveled the duty over to the Board of Trustees. That was the first option we eliminated in all of this. But that being prescriptive did nothing. It simply aggravated a lot of people. So one other simply detail item, and I don't want to appear to be ambushing Tom. Since our last discussion, I found Heritage Month Guide, February Black American History, March National Women's History, May Asian Pacific, Older Americans, June Gay and Lesbian, September Hispanic Heritage, October Disability Employment Awareness, November American Indian Heritage Month, and December Disabilities. So there is actually a prescribed set of heritage months. It's kind of moot because it doesn't get us around the whole issue I described a minute ago about prescription. As soon as we put anything in print, this is allowed, this is what we want to encourage, this is what we want to discourage, then there were lots and lots of really rancorous accusations of potential discrimination and so forth and so on that I don't need to summarize here. But so anyway, that's what I have to add, and I think we've done a good job.
Okay, thank you, John. Yes, Mr. Markle.
Yeah, John, what was the source on that list of?
There's
months?
several. This one is a university. I just did a search.
Yeah,
this afternoon.
I found some that were there, but then there's a lot more that also overlap that are determined by the same presidential decree. So
they pretty much follow the list I just gave. So this is a complete list used by colleges and universities.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for something that was
together.
published by the government somewhere. Anyway, offline.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, any comments from the board? Yeah, Dave.
Just excuse me, took a while to find the mute button. Sorry for that. First of all, I wanted to thank John and Thomas for trying to tackle something that's been a very contentious issue in the community. And I hope we can find a middle ground to be able to move forward on it. It is contentious on both sides. There's a lot of feeling about it, and I'm hoping that we're not going into that discussion right now, but we would do that when we agendize it. And I'm hoping that we can agendize it the second meeting of May, because the 11th already sounds like it's going to be pretty packed. I was curious how many citizens showed up to your last meeting when you had your streets committee meeting. And that's all I have. Thank you.
28. Good sized crowd.
We received 28 comments. There's a couple folks that chose not to comment, but almost everybody.
I meant physically attending, not commenting. There were a lot of people that commented.
Yeah. That was live. That were live comments.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Yeah, Rick.
I just want to note that we have long meetings already. And if this is going to take up half of a meeting, every meeting, this may be something that we want to figure a way to make this work easier, and perhaps just limiting it to the US flag, the Colorado flag, the Paonia flag, should we ever make one, and Heritage Months. That may be the only thing we can do. What I'm afraid of is we will get into meetings that will last forever. And we already have that now. And to add this contentious subject to the meetings is kind of, it's tough for us to deal with, and it will bring all work of the council to a halt.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Anything else? All right, well then, do we want to make a motion to send this to the town administrator and recommend that the board members comment on it?
Do you have a hand up or do you want to wait till after the
Well,
motion?
I was going to do the motion and then address the public.
Well, wait a minute. This wasn't agendized.
We can still make a motion. Every item on the agenda is an action item. So we
Okay.
can take action on anything on the agenda.
Please repeat your proposed motion.
That this be returned, that this be then sent to the town administrator so that the board can comment on it.
Mary, if I may, is
Yes,
the
please.
procedure you're proposing that a policy be drafted and then come back for comment by the board, or?
No, that the current policy that the committee has worked on, that it go back to the town administrator and that she accept comments from the board on it and then bring it back to the meeting on the 11th or the 25th.
I would recommend that any of the discussion and comments on the policy be done in a public meeting.
So that we will take, so that instead of the board giving comments that then get incorporated into the policy and then have the policy come back, take the comments in a public meeting and then do it. Okay,
Yes.
well then we can just agendize the flag policy for either the 11th or the 25th. Okay, thank you. Comment from Suzanne, Ms. Watson? *6, Suzanne, unmute.
Hello? Hello?
Okay. Yes.
Hello? I actually had a comment at the beginning of the meeting and you didn't recognize me. So
Oh,
I'm
I'm sorry,
driving
I
over to
didn't.
someone's house. I know. This is the problem with Zoom. And I want to say that the fact that you didn't even have the phone numbers on the agenda and you're having two public hearings, and one of them, I know we've heard a lot about dark skies, but the other one, I think it's really inappropriate to make any decisions in a public hearing format on this virtually unnoticed. I mean, it's not been made available to the public. And I just wanted to express my dismay with how you're proceeding here. And I wrote a letter to the board members. I don't know if everybody looked in their email to accept it. It was today. And I know a lot of times it's hard to get to that. But I will make a comment on the flag policy.
Okay.
A lot of times I think when people move to small towns like Paonia, it's because they really are looking for simplicity in life. They're leaving the busy cities, the complex topics, and there's something about the space you're afforded here that you can really catch your breath. And what I'm afraid of is we're cluttering things up with big city topics that we aren't able to afford, both in time commitments. I mean, it costs money. You won't even give us email addresses for statutorily authorized committees or commissions because it costs too much. And you can spend the administrator's time coming up with complex policies. And I appreciate this committee's attention to this, but it's sounding way too complex to me. I think I've referenced the Supreme Court pointed to San Jose, California's policy as something that they liked. And I really think that's something that we should mimic. It's a little complicated. We can simplify it a little bit, but what I'm hearing suggested here is even more complicated than the policy that San Jose, California has. So please look that up. The Supreme Court pointed to it as a good example. And I think we should look to that and keep things simple. Our zoning code is a mess. Why aren't we looking at things that are affecting people's lives with these laws that we've adopted that are not working? And we're spending our time coming up with an overly complex flag policy. And my thoughts are, you just got to keep it simple. That's what
Okay,
we're looking for here. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Suzanne. All right. All right, seeing
Am
no
I
other,
unmuted or do I have to
unmute
click
yourself.
something?
Star 6. Okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda then, which is public hearing. We have the Dark Skies Ordinance public hearing.
Mayor Brackman, you have a
yeah.
hand up still.
Oh, Mr. Bruner, you re-raised your hand. All right, Mr. Bruner, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello.
Am I there?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay. I would suggest that it would be appropriate to specifically include the banner in this policy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bruner. All right. Now we're going to move on to the Dark Skies hearing. All
Mayor
right,
Brackman,
yes. Is there another one?
yes.
Oh, yes. Ms. Caldas, I believe. Yes.
Hi, this is Susie Caldas, and I am slated to give a presentation to the council on August 11th about the signage plan that was developed in 2018, of which the town adopted as your signage plan. And I just want to be sure that the streets committee policy does not pass until after the new trustees and everyone has seen the example of the town flag that has been created.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Caldas.
Thanks.
All right. Now we're going on to the Dark Skies presentation, I'm assuming. Yes. All right. I'm opening the hearing. We are, where's my paper? Okay, we are looking at Ordinance 05-2022, the Dark Skies Ordinance for a public hearing. All right. First up is the staff presentation, Ms. Ferguson.
One moment, please. I'm also taking minutes and need to note
Oh,
the time.
right.
Thank you. Not that I have much, of course, to add, as everyone is mostly aware, I'm sure at this point. The Dark Skies group in Paonia initially came to the board, I believe, in late 2018, early 2019, and began discussion on the town's willingness to participate and become a recognized Dark Skies community. It's been an ongoing process, with the first draft iteration of any proposed ordinance language being presented in 2020. The first hearing was presented in 2021. Several changes were suggested and incorporated. And at the last minute, it was noted that with one of the incorporated changes, the modification would now need to be done via public hearing. Thank you to Community Member Watson for pointing that out. And so we have published as a public hearing for the review of the Dark Skies Ordinance and language, including the attachment with the detail. In the packet, it has been reviewed in town by staff. It's been reviewed by the Dark Skies Committee. It's been reviewed by the town attorney. And we have staff has no objections to the ordinance as presented in the hearing.
Okay. All right. Applicant presentation, Mr. Watson.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Aaron Watson. Yes. Should I just give a comment here?
You can do whatever you want as far as your presentation of the Dark Skies initiative.
Great. Yeah. So yeah, we have this ordinance in front of the board. This is a crucial step in Paonia becoming a certified dark sky town by the International Dark Sky Association. There's still some work we have to do after this ordinance, but this is a major step in that process. So this will get us well on the way. As you probably already know, we already have really great dark and starry night skies here in Paonia. But if we don't do anything to protect it, we're going to lose it. Like most of America, 80% of Americans can't see the band of the Milky Way like we can here. So we're really lucky that we still can see that. And dark skies is good for Paonia because it helps protect our rural quality of life. You know, that small, quiet town feeling that we have here. And it's also good for the well-being of residents and visitors, and not just humans, but also wildlife, animals, plants, and the ecosystems all need natural darkness to thrive. We all do. So being responsible with light saves energy and money. We see that in the town with our streetlights. We're saving over $1,000 per month in energy savings just from new streetlights. And as we change out more lights throughout town, this energy savings will increase. Because lighting, when it's done right, it can be safe, it can be useful, it can promote well-being, and even be beautiful. And more people are becoming aware of the benefits provided by using responsible lighting. And I just want to offer that Dark Skies Paonia is here to help. We can provide resources for residents and for town staff as far as responsible lighting practices. And, you know, we get a lot of complaints from frustrated residents who are dealing with light trespass, you know, lights that are shining into their bedrooms where it's supposed to be dark at night. And so we can continue to help people find win-win solutions for these light complaints. So we need to be vigilant to protect our nights. And we are happy that the town is taking significant measures such as this ordinance to preserve our phenomenal dark skies here in Paonia. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions that the board may have.
All right, questions for either Ms. Ferguson or Mr. Watson from the board? Yes, Mr. Pearson.
I appreciate the work that Aaron and the patience that the Dark Skies Committee has had so far, because as Corinne so aptly described, it's been a very long process for all of us that have been involved in it. We've tried to be as patient as possible in trying to take public input and incorporate that in. We've had really good public input so far on where we're trying to go. I did see that I did want to note that Aaron is also the statewide chapter president for Dark Skies in Colorado. And this would really show our community support for the work that he's doing. And I wanted to thank him again for that. I like the picture of the Milky Way in the background. I see that every night from our house when there isn't a moon. And I wanted to recognize Corinne's work at the very beginning of this in helping us getting the streetlights changed. That's all I have for comments. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Markle.
Yeah, just a quick statement that we have had, as a person who hosts visitors and tourists, we have had several people comment, of course, on the quality of the dark sky that we already have. And we have had people come specifically just to see, to observe the sky from here because of the quality of our skies already. So I do think that we are extremely fortunate to have this resource, and fortunate that we have people who are interested in preserving and expanding it. And I just want to thank Aaron for everything that he's done so far and appreciate his patience.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from the board? Okay, seeing none. Now it's time for public comment. There are rules for public comment. 3 minutes for each speaker. The speaker shall identify themselves by name and street. Repetitious comments will not be acceptable. If a previous speaker has already made your point, you may simply state that you concur. All right, so is there any comment from the public? Mr. Grossman.
Howdy, I'm Bob Grossman. I'm the current president of the Western Slope Dark Sky Coalition. Paonia resident Aaron Watson is on our board. The coalition is dedicated to helping with dark places applications like Paonia's and helping designated dark sky communities, parks, sanctuaries, and reserves to maintain that designation. It's currently supporting the application for a San Miguel County Dark Sky Reserve. I want to thanks for the opportunity to address the Paonia Town Board. I was the person who inspired the application for Norwood to become the first dark sky community on the Western Slope, and the second in the state. After that success, many other applications were made. Early on, Norwood loaned Paonia its first sky quality meter to begin its community application effort. I've also helped Deb Stuber and Nucla obtain a joint dark sky community designation for Nucla and Natarita. I'm here to support the application for Paonia to become a dark sky community. I've watched your effort over several years and so happy to see it come to fruition with this important milestone, an International Dark Sky Association approved lighting ordinance. I know it wasn't easy for all involved. If the IDA accepts the application, Paonia will be the 6th dark sky community in the state and the 5th on the Western Slope. Paonia is definitely not alone out here in one of the darkest regions in the world. In fact, this region is becoming a dark sky showcase. For instance, Ridgeway, Top of the Pines Park, Norwood, Nucla, and Natarita are on the current Colorado stargazing tour map promoted by the Colorado Tourism Board. Controlling light pollution is not only easy, but it's also not expensive. It can be done with very simple actions. Light where and when you need it, lower the intensity to safe levels, glare reduces visibility. Keep the light color warm, and shade it so it goes down where you want it, not out or sideways. Reducing
Mr.
light
Grossman,
pollution.
Mr. Grossman, your time is almost up. Could you wrap it up, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
It's a positive factor for human physical and mental health. Folks are seeing the worth for enjoying the night, and this region has stars very few ever see. It is part of the region's pioneer heritage as the plow, saddle, and lasso. That too is worth preserving. Given the reasons I've stated, I hope the board sees the worth in improving the proposed lighting ordinance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grossman. Mr. Bruner, you're up next.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi there. I fully support the dark sky effort. I want to thank them very much for the work that they've done, and particularly the new streetlights that we have. And I know it's hard to get things right, but I just have to point out in the little chart included in the packet, it looks like our streetlights are now out of compliance with this new ordinance. So I hope we can tune up our game and get some shielding on our lights, on the street lights that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bruner. Mr. Harder, you're next.
Thanks, Mary. This is Jake Harder, representing the Western Slope Conservation Center. And I just want to take a minute to read a letter of support that the center put together in favor of adopting this ordinance. Dear trustees for the town of Paonia, thank you for the opportunity to address the Board of Trustees on behalf of the Western Slope Conservation Center, a 600+ member organization that builds an active and aware community to protect and enhance the land, air, water, and wildlife of the Lower Gunnison watershed. The Conservation Center has a 40+ year history of working to ensure our public lands and waters are well managed with the highest level of protections they deserve. Thank you for the opportunity to address the town on concerns related to the dark sky lighting ordinance in front of the town council this evening. The Western Slope Conservation Center wholeheartedly supports the town adopting this ordinance. Dark skies are important to the town and should not be taken for granted. In a study from Science Advances magazine, it's projected that the Milky Way is hidden from 1/3 of humanity, including 60% of Europeans and nearly 80% of North Americans, as someone mentioned earlier. As a town that can provide the dark sky resource to its community and adding an allure to those traveling throughout the West, we believe it would be wise to identify that light pollution can occur with more development and support the town moving closer to being designated as a dark sky community. Plants and animals depend on Earth's daily light and dark cycles to govern life-sustaining behaviors. Research shows that artificial light at night has adverse and even deadly effects on many species. For many animals, the natural night sky signals when to eat, sleep, hunt, migrate, even when to reproduce. It is estimated that half of all species on Earth start their daily activities at sundown. Birds that migrate or hunt at night navigate by moonlight and starlight. Artificial lights can cause them to wander off course towards dangerous nighttime landscapes of cities. For these reasons, the Western Slope Conservation Center supports the town of Paonia in adopting this ordinance to preserve our dark skies and our community. Thank you. Sincerely, Western Slope Conservation Center.
Thank you, Mr. Harder. All right, Ms. Cachette.
Thank you. I'm Cedar Cachette. I'm an artist. I live in Delta County above the town of Paonia. So I too am affected by your dark skies. It's nice to not see a lot of blaring light. It'd be great to see less. I want to say I support what everyone else has said and I agree with it. And I also want to add that as an artist, dark skies provide a great palette for nocturne painting. So I would really like to encourage everyone to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cassette. Flower. Oh, you're not muted, my dear. Unmute.
Hello, Melissa
There we
Brady,
go.
Pitkin Road. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I concur. I concur with this ordinance being a wonderful addition to safeguarding our town and helping Mother Earth in multiple ways and helping humanity. As you can see, it's so obvious when you look down at the globe at what has happened. We got so excited with electricity and we just lit everything up without realizing, I think, what was happening. And so now we have so much education that has come through and so many resources to make a change and fix this direction. And so thanks also to all of you for your work and patience, and we're really looking forward to continuing this and just keeping Paonia so special.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Swart, I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yes, yes, you did. Just fine. Thanks for the few minutes to speak to the board. I am a resident down in the Ridgeway area, and I have been responsible for Ridgeway obtaining their dark sky designation from IDA, as well as Top of the Pines, a recreation area in Uray County that received a dark sky park designation. And I've actually been helping Aaron and providing some content to what's before you right now. And so I strongly support the efforts that you've done. I've known it's taken a few years, but I think it will be going in the right direction and help preserve the dark sky assets that we have here in Western Colorado. So I strongly support what you're doing. I do recommend that you stay closely coordinated with IDA, because you do have a number of additional criteria steps to fully obtain your designation. So I would recommend you stay tightly coordinated with IDA on that too, so that you could be successful, hopefully in the next year. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Derek.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say I'm a Paonia resident, live on German Creek, just outside of town limits. But I want to say I fully support the dark sky initiatives for the town of Paonia and this ordinance for the town to pass. I very much appreciate all the efforts everyone's put into it. Aaron, thank you very much for your work to highlight this for the town. I think it growing up in Grand Junction for most of my life, you can still see the stars there, but not like you can here. You know, Paonia has a very unique sky view, and I think it's something that definitely needs to be protected. It is something that when people come from even a city like Grand Junction or Montrose for that matter, I think everyone is wowed when they get to see that. I think it's also an area that Paonia can capitalize on dark sky tourism. That's a very big benefit for the town as well. So for all the work everyone's done, I want to say thank you and definitely support it.
Thank you, Derek. Ms. Howe.
Thank you. I wanted to just fill in a few blanks. I've been on this board since the inception of this work. And one of the first things we had to do was create an educational effort. And so we did a lot of tabling and also to show, and this was for the International Dark Sky, also required this, to show that we had business and town support. So we went around to all the businesses. We had a pledge that if they supported it, they could sign. And if they did, if they wanted to display a sticker on their window that said, I support dark skies. And so we got 95% of town support. The businesses that didn't really want to sign the pledge were ones that they were in support of it, but they didn't want to make a statement. So I think we've done our due diligence, and I really want to thank the board and Corinne, and of course, Aaron, who's been amazing for all the work for the last, I think we started this in the winter of 2017, actually. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howe. All right, anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Schofield, did you want to comment or are you just agreeing?
Thank you. I'm just reminded of your comment. If it's already been said, we don't need to say it again. Just want to state we live in Paonia, 448 Vista Drive, and John and I totally support this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Okay, seeing no other comments, I'm going to go ahead and close this hearing. All right, now it's the Board of Trustees, discussion among the Board of Trustees on this issue. Yes, Mr. Stelter.
I just want to say that this is a very net positive for the town. One of the things in the United States is most people have never seen the Milky Way. And this could be a positive thing for tourism here in the city. We can promote that, and it also gives us a quality of life that's higher. So I fully support this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Stelter. Ms. Smith.
I was just going to say I completely support it. It's a great thing. Thanks for everybody's work.
Okay, anything else? Yes, Mr. Markham.
Do we have do you need a motion to accept the ordinance as written?
We will need a motion.
At this time?
Yeah, we can do a motion at this time.
Okay, then I move to approve. Oh, I don't have the number right in front of me. I scrolled down.
05-2022.
I move that we approve ordinance 05-2022 as written.
Do I have a second?
I have a second.
Any further discussion? Mr. Stelter, you have your hand up? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion finally passes. Hallelujah. Congratulations, Aaron, and all you Dark Skies supporters. All right, next item on the agenda is Ordinance 06-2022. I am opening the hearing to look at the amendment of Chapter 18 of the Municipal Code concerning I-codes. All right. Staff presentation.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Ferguson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, not a lot to add. Most are aware of the history. The previous Board of Trustees had entered into a contract with Shooms Coda and Dan Reardon was assigned as the building official for the town of Paonia. And the board got into a joint effort for multiple communities in the Western Slope and in the Valley to do an update to code from the older codes that we were operating out of. We're operating out of 2003 to the 2018 code. The process was completed by Mr. Reardon, has been brought to the community and board on a few occasions, as well as with the planning commission at one point, even though that's not a requirement for this kind of a code change. It was brought in a joint meeting with the Board of Trustees and the Planning Commission to get their opinions and review of the documents as well. The document has been in front of the board. It was noted that the changes needed to be done through a public hearing process. I do want to make it noted for transparency that in the public hearing notice, it stated that all of the codes mentioned were available at Town Hall to be reviewed. The only books that were in hard copy available at Town Hall for review were the 2018 IBC and the 2018 IRC with commentary. The other documents, books are available online, but were not provided to the individual that requested to view them yesterday at Town Hall. So I do want to make sure that that's clear to the board. Again, staff has no issues and is in support of the update amendment of chapter 18 concerning the I codes. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And since we don't really have an applicant, I'm going to open this up for questions for staff from the board. Yes, Ms. Smith.
First of all, I wanted to let everyone know that we had received comments from Lucy Hunter to make adjustments, and it appears to me those were all made. And I wanted to clarify with Corinne that that is the case. And you shaking your head yes. And I just wanted to note there's a typographical error in section 18-5-20, copy on file. It inappropriately says.
Okay, Paige, I think you need to back up from your microphone. We're not hearing you.
Okay, let me turn. I'm looking at my computer on the side.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
If, right now, 18-5-20 is referencing the International Energy Efficiency Code, and it actually should be referencing the Manufactured Housing Installation Code. So that needs to be revised. And I just want to add that I emailed and spoke to Mary and Corinne. I'm quite concerned that the statutory requirement for all those documents to be available were not made available during this public hearing. And consequently, I cannot vote in favor of this approval of this as part of the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Questions, comments from staff? Yeah, Mr. Conklin.
If I may, I guess learned this afternoon that there was a question about the public notice and the availability of the I codes for inspection at Town Hall. It's, as Corinne mentioned, all of the I codes are available online, and they're available for inspection at Town Hall on a public computer online. And in my view, that would be substantial compliance with the notice requirement of the statute. And in my experience with other municipalities, that's been sufficient and not a problem in the past. So.
Thank you, Mr. Conklin. Mr. Markle. Oh, you're still muted.
Thanks. Just a minor typographical error on page 79, last paragraph, zoning board of adjustment space shall.
Okay, anything else from the board then? All right, seeing, yeah, Mr. Knudsen.
I'd like Corinne to remind me of when I served on the GAPS committee. I believe this was started at that time where we were trying to change this due to public input, and other trustees have also served on that committee to get a lot of public input about the building inspection situation and the desire for a change in it. This particular adoption is critical in order to help us move from the current situation we have with building inspection to a cooperative one with other communities in Delta County, and it's required in order for us to join that effort. So I just want to mention that it's, if we want a change in the way building inspection is done, and with the costs of building inspection, I suggest that we seriously consider adopting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the board? All right, seeing none, I'm going to open it for public comment. Again, 3 minutes for each speaker. Please identify yourself with your address, and repetitious comments will not be accepted. Please say you concur or disagree. Mr. Bruner, you are up.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, you know, one of the reasons the dark sky ordinance took so long is that it took the town forever to realize that it had statutory process that it had to go through and a particular place in the ordinances that needed to be placed. And thank goodness that's finally happened. But in a similar manner, this adoption is being done knowingly at variance with the state requirements. And I would probably agree with the attorney if it weren't for the fact that a citizen, in fact, did come into the office and asked to see those codes and was told the town could not show them to them. And so you're knowingly at variance with the law. You took an oath to uphold the law. I don't understand the question. And I have to add that it's my understanding that that citizen actually had to put up with harassment by a member of the town staff for wearing a mask while she was asking to see these books. So what a mess. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the public? All right, yes. Ms. Watson.
Hi, this is Suzanne Watson on 2nd Street. And that citizen that went into town hall to ask to see the codes was me. I was not directed to a public computer to see the codes. I overheard Corinne saying that they're on order, the books are on order, but they haven't arrived yet. I was only shown the IBC and the IRC, so that's a lie. It is a lie. It's misinformation that's being put forward to our attorney to support this failing by the staff. This is really, really an important, I know this is, I'm not saying you shouldn't adopt the 2018 codes, but I'm saying that you need to take the time to follow the correct process. I have concerns about the way this meeting was noticed, about the way the meeting was decided on. It's a remote meeting to hold a hearing for these most important codes that are going to make building much more expensive for the town is an abomination. Furthermore, you needed to get those books in the office when the ad was first put out. And I understand that it might have been because you didn't think they were too expensive. But the thing is, this code is very expensive. It's going to be very expensive for all of us. And you have to realize when you adopt new codes, you are talking expensive. I wanted to look at the codes, compare them side by side, look for the redundancies in the mechanical code, because some of that is addressed in the codes that we already have. And I wanted to know why we had to adopt a separate volume. I can't even go to the library and try to do that if I had the option to it. I wanted to see the paper copies. I think you need to hold off on this and start over with a public hearing once you get the codes. Aside from that, I was scrolling down through, by the way, the packet is not online. Someone who goes to the town website right now to look at this code that you're adopting will not find it there because it is not on the chart anymore, the mini code chart on the town website. I'm looking at something I downloaded a couple of days ago. I don't know if you've taken it down and amended it since then, but I want to say you don't even have something available for people to look at right now online. That's terrible. you've made some changes. There's zoning, the Board of Appeals is a different ordinance than the one that was passed in 2020. You reference, you're saying that the Board of Appeals
Ms. Watson,
can't.
your time is up. Please wrap it up.
Well, you know, I'm on the Board of Appeals, and this is really important.
Ms. Watson,
You're saying that we can't have appeals over the IBC. You're saying that the commercial code is beyond the reach of the Board of Appeals. You've just taken half of our authority away. I want the board to look into this. I want you to read the ordinance and see what's being put in front of you here, because there's been some serious changes that have been made.
Okay, Ms. Watson, your time is up. Thank you. All right, anything else from the public? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing. Discussion from the board. Anything?
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Mr.
Sorry.
Conklin.
Sorry, I just spilled a glass of water all over my desk. So
Oh,
I'm kind of
sorry.
scrambling, but if there was a question as to who constitutes the Board of Appeals, I think that's consistent with the rest of the code, that the town's Board of Zoning Adjustment is the Board of Appeals. I think that was a question that was raised at some point during this process, and anyway, just wanted to address that issue.
Yeah, please.
And also, I didn't hear any of the public comments, any substantive questions, but if there are any of those, I'm happy to address them or through Dan. So.
Okay. So did you have a comment about the Board of Adjustments and Appeals? Mr. Conklin?
Just that's who is serving as the Board of Appeals of the building code, is the zoning Board of Adjustment under this.
Okay, so it does not affect that board at all then. All right, thank you. Mr. Markle.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Jeff's opinion about the availability of referenced code was changed based on the information given that none was produced.
Mr. Conklin, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of having the code on file is in one form or another is so that persons can inspect it, because it's tens of thousands of pages long altogether. And so if there was someone that was attempting to inspect it and wasn't able to, then I think they should be given that opportunity. And so I would, in light of that, recommend that this be continued to our next meeting for adoption, so that anyone that would like to inspect it can, and that there's not any procedural problem there. And if there's any substantive issue that arises out of that, that would also be, the purpose of allowing the inspection. So.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ferguson?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make it clear that the reason that the packet didn't show published when Ms. Watson was looking at it was because I was asked to update the agenda with the phone number information. And so when you're modifying the agenda and it's republishing, it does remove the link to the packet because it's a modification to the entire packet, but it has been updated with the information that was added to the agenda, and no other changes were made to the packet. I also do want to state that just for the record, I have no issues with the continuation, but at no time did I say that an online code was offered and wasn't taken. I did state that the only books that we had in town hall were the IRC and the IBC printed materials, and I also was misheard, because never did I say that books were ordered and hadn't arrived yet. I had not ordered the hard copy books because of the cost, and I was waiting until the board approved all of the codes before I ordered all of the hard copy books. But yes, we do have it available online and it can be viewed.
Okay, Ms. Smith.
Questions then. What's the total cost for all the hard copies, which we obviously need to have in the office?
I would have to look to add that all up. I don't have the total cost in front of me, but I can tell you that the books range anywhere from $160 to $300 a piece.
There's about 6 of them. Is that right? 6 to 8?
Yes.
Okay. So we should all be aware of that additional cost. And then Jeff, I just wanted to ask you, could you address Suzanne Watson's concern that this new code is reducing their authority by half? I don't understand that.
I think I did. It doesn't, right?
Yeah.
The Board of Zoning Adjustment is still, this is still within their jurisdiction.
Okay. And the new code doesn't eliminate them somehow
No.
from any oversight. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Knutson.
Thank you, Mayor. In the light of the difficulty that Ms. Watson encountered in trying to look at this, and on the advice of our attorney, I'd like to make a motion that this be continued to our next meeting.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion from the board? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that motion carries. All right. Next on our agenda is the Mountain Harvest Festival, September 23rd to 25th, the Grand Avenue Street closure. Is there someone from Mountain Harvest Festival that would like to address the board on this issue?
Hi there. Yes, we have 3 board members here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. We have 3 board members here today, and we each have a piece that we would like to share with the council. So I'll begin. So the Creative Coalition is appealing.
Amy, would you please have everybody introduce themselves?
Oh, sure. So I'm Amy DeLuca. I'm the president of the Creative Coalition and a downtown business owner.
Thank you.
I'm Sean Larson, board member of the Creative Coalition and also a Paonia downtown business owner.
Jeff Kyle here. I'm the vice president of the Creative Coalition. I live here in Paonia.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Amy.
Okay. The Creative Coalition is appealing to the Paonia Town Council to grant the requested street closure for the 21st Annual Mountain Harvest Festival the weekend of September 23rd. We are in compliance with the town's existing policy for street closure requests. A conversation and written notice of our street closure intention took place, and 100% of signatures from businesses on the 100 and 200 block of Grand Avenue were acquired. All of that information was included in the packet that you initially received on June 23rd. We were then directed by council to revisit some business owners for further clarification of our intent. The Coalition Vice President Casper Kyle's notes on those conversations were submitted and updated in your packet on July 14th and today on July 28th. Sean, you're next.
Okay. Hello, I'm Sean Larson again. I'm a Paonia resident. I'm also a downtown business owner. I am speaking today as a board member of the Creative Coalition. We have a simple request, which is on the agenda this evening, which is the Creative Coalition is requesting a street closure. I just kind of wanted to remind everyone that tonight's meeting is not necessarily about opinions on where the best location for the Mountain Harvest Festival should be located. We have done our due diligence and performed everything required for approval. And after approval, the Creative Coalition Board will take serious consideration from all of the public comments and then make an informed decision on where the best location or locations for the Mountain Harvest Fest will be. I hope that you and the members of our community can trust in us to make the right choices and bring new and much needed life into this legacy event. In conclusion, we are asking for you to approve our request for the street closure today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. I am reading this letter from Rob Miller, who is the guy who does Pickin' Productions, and I think we all know who Rob is. The passionate feedback I've heard regarding the Mountain Harvest Festival is a testament to the event's long-standing history in the North Fork Valley, and above all, I am encouraged by the community's level of engagement. I want to share some background on how I became involved with the festival. I attended Mountain Harvest Fest last fall, and my impression was that the event had fallen apart organizationally. I thought it lost its muster a few years ago, but last year was a low point. Afterward, I met with the board to see if I might be able to help get it back on track. I discovered that only 3 board members remained and that one was about to quit. After talking with local friends and spending a good deal of time brainstorming, I suggested the festival be under the umbrella of the North Fork Valley Creative Coalition, led by Amy DeLuca. I later learned that Amy had been making some suggestions for the past few years, so I helped facilitate this welcome change in leadership. We had discussions about how to not only improve the festival's organization, but how to give the event a much needed jumpstart. One of our favorite ideas was to highlight Paonia's very special downtown area by curating a high quality art vendors on the 200 block and creating an oasis of free music and local food and drinks on the beautiful stage at the end of the 100 block. Living here, we cannot forget that we have a beautiful downtown. With almost all storefronts occupied, it's cute. Visitors see it as a Mayberry, but best of all, it's Paonia. We love Town Park and have creative ideas for parts of the festival to be there. But I'd like to try this idea to bring the epicenter of Grand Avenue to Grand Avenue this year. We have a vision to create a vibrant downtown atmosphere that supports local artisans and allows for businesses in the town's core to thrive. We have a talented, committed group of individuals in place to produce this year's festival, including North Fork Valley Creative Board and contracted professionals such as myself. The new all-local leadership team represents over 75 years of combined events production experience in the Valley, including such events as Pickin' in the Park, Paonia's Holiday Art Fair, Telluride Blues and Brews, Country Jam, and more. This spring, in the early planning stages, we received valuable public input via a town hall forum. It is our sincere hopes that the community give us their support as we thoughtfully revive a festival that was in a period of deterioration and take it into a new and exciting phase, while upholding the rich legacy and history. We understand that the changes come with adjustment and would be so grateful for your trust in us to proceed with the level of dedication and first ever collaboration that we feel will produce a highly successful and professional signature event. Rob Miller.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, questions for the 3 from the board? Yeah.
Well, I guess I just have to ask you some very pointed questions that I have to tell you, I'm a very big supporter of Harvest Festival and the North Fork Valley Coalition, but I am afraid that you have not been informed of what our code says. And that is a problem for me, because I think you need to be aware, if you're not already, that our street closure code only allows 5 hours on a day that isn't a Sunday. And on a Sunday, you can close for 10 hours. So there's no exceptions to that. And then the second thing that I want to let you know about that is of concern to me is that our open container code also requires that the police, let's see, let me read it for you. The chief of police or the board of trustees shall have determined that the permit is necessary for conducting a public event or celebration. And this is what's key, and that adequate provision has been made for police supervision and area maintenance. So we have nothing in here. Corinne did not ask the police to, she did not attach anything to this. I don't know how the police feel. I'm really concerned about having open containers downtown without knowing that the police feel like they have adequate staff and can cover it for the time. So I cannot support what you have proposed at this very time because of the street closure code, but I don't see why you couldn't make adjustments to the street closures from my perspective and get the police to weigh in. I don't know that there's ever been that much open container in downtown Paonia, but I really do want the police input. And this is not, to me, a fault of the applicants. This rests on town hall. Thank you.
Okay, other comments from the board? Mr. Knudsen.
Let me lower the hand here. I have a question about there's been a lot of comments from the public about the weather. And I just wanted to remind people about my very first Mountain Harvest Festival in 2004, when the chili cook-off was in the 100 block and we almost got hailed on. It was freezing cold. We had guests from Seattle here. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm concerned about handicap parking. I noticed the street closures. I'm wondering if there's a way for the committee, and I'm just trying to give you some input on the way you've designed it. I've seen two different designs here. One closes off First Street way over to the 2 blocks on either side. Another design, First Street is closed closer to Grand Avenue. And in the case of 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, it seems with the barricades moved back, it would be nice to see handicap parking only in those areas so that people that aren't ambulatory that want to attend can go into that. And that's the only comment I have right now.
Okay, thank you. Other comments from the board? Yeah, Mr. Markle.
Okay. Yeah, I want to echo Trustee Smith's concerns, I guess, and the same sentiment that it's not the responsibility of the trustees to know every nook and cranny of our code. That's our clerk's duty. And I feel that right now we're being asked to make an exception to town ordinance. So I don't think that we can do that. And that might be a question for our attorney, if we can suspend our ordinance in order to approve this. My thinking is no, but I have another, I guess, the other issue is the one that came up whenever it was 6 weeks ago now, that the conversation between the residents of the proposed closure, the street of the proposed closure, and the group who wishes to do the closure, seems like it was just not, like the communication was not very strong there. So I did put together a document that we might want to look at in the future for a street closure survey that includes the basic information about the closure, the residents' information, and an options of support to say, yes, I don't care, or no, I don't want this. Because I do think that while I appreciate the Creative Coalition's efforts regarding planning and their motivations, I think are absolutely pure. It seems like the execution and the communication with the rest of town was incomplete. So I know that this deadline is quickly approaching, and the preparation that has to happen to make something like this come together, and the information and coordination relies on a good time schedule. So I hope we can come to some sort of more rapid conclusion than 2 weeks from now. We'll get back to it. But I don't know the best path forward at this time. So I apologize, but I don't have a good handle on how to proceed.
Okay. Question for you, Mr. Conklin. Can the board override the statute on the limitations of the 5-hour street closure, if they so desire for this event, make an exception for this event?
Madam Mayor, I haven't had an opportunity to review this issue or research it at all.
Okay.
In the 2 minutes I've looked at the code, it appears that this relates to administrative street closures and the authority of the town administrator to issue a permit to close the streets for that limited period of time. And I think there's probably other provisions of the code that would support the Board of Trustees being able to exercise some greater authority, because there may be a need or out of necessity or desire to close the streets for a longer period of time. So I suspect there is probably the authority available to the board to do that, given that this appears this is written for as it applies to administrative authority. But again, I haven't had an opportunity to look at that until just now.
Okay, thank you. Rick?
Having been here and attended all the Harvest Fest since the beginning, and I was a vendor the first 4 Harvest Fests. We were downtown, and I'll tell you that in the afternoon, by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it was so hot on 3 of those years that you couldn't hardly stand it. Basically, the west side of the street had people walking on it. The east side of the street was deserted. And the other year we got hail, and rain, and it pretty much put a damper on any festivities downtown. I realize that the weather can't be fixed, but I believe that the park is a much better venue for what we're going to do. I am in favor of limited street closures in the evening after business hours, so that the music venues people can walk in the street and go in between venues. The open container issue is a real issue, and it needs to be addressed by the leaders of the coalition, because they are responsible for violations of this. And basically what we did at the Blue Sage was we used to have somebody standing outside and made sure that nobody walked onto the street with a drink. And that's the way to handle it. So you're going to have to get a whole bunch of people together in order to police that. And when you get somebody that doesn't cooperate, you're going to have to have the police deal with it. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Anything else from the board? Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Stelter, having worked at both of the Paradise Theater and the Blue Sage. The way they have handled, and being on the board of Mountain Harvest Festival for 5 years, the way they always handled it was the music venues police their own people in and out, and nobody was allowed on the street with an open container or an open drink. So it has been done in the past. It's been done at least 15 times in the past, so I'm sure it can be done adequately in the future. Okay, would somebody like to make a motion on this?
Are we going to allow for individuals that might want to comment?
Oh, well, let's put a motion on the board and then we'll get public input.
All right, I'll take a shot at a motion. I move that the applications for street closure and special event permits be reconsidered and resubmitted, and taking into account all existing code related to each issue.
Okay. So street closure, and what was the other part?
The other one was the special events permit.
Okay. Do I have a second on that motion? All right, seeing none, that motion fails for a second. Would anyone else like to take a shot at this? Yes, Mr. Knudsen.
I'd like to explain my rationale first and then make a motion. We saw Mountain Harvest Festival almost die. People that I knew that were on the board were ready to bail. They were tired. It had been all volunteer. I've been one of those volunteers for Mountain Harvest Festival for years. We have a group of people that display a lot of professional expertise that are willing to step up to the plate and make this thing happen. And I'm in support of people that are doers. people that are willing to step up and say, I'm going to make this happen. I think it's easy to be a critic and it's easy to throw things from the sidelines, but I didn't see anyone else stepping up and trying to make Mountain Harvest Festival happen. So for me, that's a real compelling reason to let them try what they want to do as an experiment. I think they can rope off for alcohol. I may be wrong on this, but I believe the board has allowed some street closure exceptions during COVID. Our staff can close streets for repairs at any time, so I don't think we're hanging out to dry trying to close streets. I'm really not in favor of the previous motion because that kicked the can down the road. I think we need to make a decision, and the public deserves a decision from us. I think their plan is well thought out. It's going to be a pilot. We're going to get a lot of feedback from the community on how well it went. And I think we can pay attention to that. But I want them to be able to proceed. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the street closures that they proposed.
All right, do I have a second on that motion? All right, Mr. Valentine.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion from the board?
Well, I'll just add that I cannot approve either of these because they do violate the code. And the code is there for a reason. And I'm just sorry that they weren't pointed to this code before they made these plans, but I think there's a way to still continue with Harvest Festival and some downtown activity and be in compliance with the code. And I'm really concerned about having open container for that many proposed hours in downtown without having any input from the police during these applications. I absolutely cannot support it as currently proposed.
All right, thank you. All right, anything from the public? Yes, wait, did I lose somebody?
Thomas.
Ms. Williams.
Hello, I'm Joy Williams. I reside at Pitkin Road, and I also own the Simple Cafe on Grand Avenue. And I wanted to say that I appreciate the Creative Coalition for going forward with this, because the two busiest days of our cafe were during the holiday fair and July 4th during the parade. Both of those times, the roads were closed. So we would appreciate the support downtown as a business. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Grice. Grice, is that how you pronounce it?
There we go. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Christ, you've got it. I am a business owner also downtown in the 200 block. And I just want to say the exact same thing, actually. And that is that my biggest days are when the streets are closed and we have real attention brought to the downtown. It's been kind of a rough summer. And I just want to show my support to the Creative Coalition. And I think it's a great idea to refresh the Harvest Festival. And yeah, it really, I would love the support just for downtown businesses, because, we're making a real go, and it really does. It brings in a lot of business and it helps so much. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Pattison.
Thank you. Yeah, so I want to echo Trustee Knutson in that I would like to see the Harvest Fest continue and support the volunteer efforts to make that happen. But at the same time, I completely agree with Trustee Smith's reading of Town Code, and I would encourage all the trustees to review section 11-180, Part L. I don't think there's any language here that indicates the board can make an exception. So if you choose to do that anyway, in this case, I really hope that you will agendize that part of your code for revision so that you can be consistent and fair to anyone applying for street closures in the future.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Yeah, Ms. DeLuca?
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to address a couple of the issues that, some concerns that came up. We would be happy to have the police engagement. We do have, we have a professional security service that we have engaged for our event. It's on hold right now. And they deal with events probably 10 times, maybe even 100 times larger than this event. So they've done, worked all over the Western Slope, and they're professionals, and they would help us with the liquor security as well as just safety for pedestrians crossing the street, and also with liquor containment, because that is an important part of our plan. It is in our drawing. And someone's talking over me. I'm not sure, maybe.
Yeah. If you are not on the board, please mute your phones and or feeds. Thank you.
So on our drawing in our packet, it did show where we intend to do our liquor containment. So as I was saying, the security issue, I think that Paige was referring to, would be enforced through this professional security service. Yeah, outsourced. So, and also the handicap parking, we have discussed this extensively, and I thought it was on our map. So I don't have my map in front of me, but absolutely we'd want to be able to accommodate handicap parking for anybody who's attending the festival in that way. And then there has been a couple comments regarding shade and weather. You know, there's a lot out of our control in terms we can't navigate the weather regardless of where the festival is. But again, referring to Rob's letter, we're all professionals. This isn't our first event, won't be our last. And we know how to deal with weather and shade, and try to make the most positive and pleasant experience for everybody. Anything else, guys? I forgot.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, one last thing. Yeah, just one last thing.
Sure.
We are down to the wire on this. We submitted our packet about 6 months prior to the date of Mountain Harvest Festival. And this has carried on longer than anybody would have hoped or liked. And we're in the, we're 8 weeks out, and we can do it, but to delay and have to come back, that's really going to be problematic. So I hope that we can come to a conclusion tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Officer Laminger, or Chief Laminger, or Provisional Chief Laminger, whatever your title is these days.
Yeah. So I would be more than happy to look at those. I mean, I'm looking at them here real quick. It's my first glance at them.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
Ms. Patterson, would you please mute yourself?
So I'm looking at them here. It looks like it would be doable. I'd be happy to meet with them as far as enforcement goes. The department's happy to try and work with any group, depending on the hours that would be needed. The other concern that pops up, just looking at, would be that 2nd and Grand, that's our main truck route into town. So if we could make that, so it was movable, if we did have a truck that needed to get through there for some reason, that's something we could look into, but I'd be happy to meet with them and kind of work out. I know they're in a bit of a time crunch, but we could probably talk through some of those things.
Thank you. Yeah, Ms. DeLuca?
Sorry, I forgot to address another. Thank you, Mr. Laminger. That would be great. We'd love to meet with you. Something I just wanted to clarify, because it has been spoken that this is 2.5 days and 3 days long. And Friday night is just a setup night. The street will not, there's just a very small section of the street that would be blocked off on the 100 block. No businesses would be affected by its location. And we, Judd Kleiman, who is our operations guide on all this. He has graphed it out on the map so that vehicles can get through on that 200 block. So we have addressed that on our map, and also that can also happen on the 100 block, the way we're planning the layout of the actual event. So I just wanted Mr. Lemmer to know that as well, but we would be happy to meet with you.
Okay, anything else from the public? Yes. See, we have Ms. Watson.
Hi, this is Suzanne Watson. I was just looking at the closure map here on page 86, I guess. And I'm concerned because this is a great closure for the people who can profit from this type of activity, but we have the post office that needs to be accessible to many people in the community. And the only place you park to get your mail is in front of the building. And I can't see this important federal building being blocked off to the public for 3 days. Well, Sunday, I guess I'll let you off the hook there. But additionally, it looks like the liquor area curves around between the bank and the post office there. And I'm wondering who owns that property? Is that an alley? But what I see is your liquor containment area to the, it's to the north and east of the post office is in the post office handicap parking zone. There are many different kinds of people who have to access the post office, people driving in from out of town, people who have mobility issues. And I do not think that the street should be blocked off in this location for that long. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bookout.
So to Suzanne Watson's point, the post office is only open for a couple hours on Saturday, and that would be the only time it would be affected. It's not open on Sunday. And I think people can figure out how to get there. But I think the larger point and the larger issue is that this group has been extremely professional in presenting what they're planning to do, has done everything, has jumped through all the hoops.
Whoever
Earlier
has
than most
Hey.
other organizations. And I think to push them to this point where they're at the 11th hour is completely unprofessional on the town's part. So I would like to echo the sentiment that I hope that things can get figured out in this meeting and not delayed yet again. It's like costing people money and time and energy that nobody needs to be doing. So I hope that everybody can just come to an agreement and make things happen tonight and not delay this any longer.
Thank you, Ms. Bookout. All right, anything else from the public? All right, seeing none. We have a motion on the table to approve the street closure. Yes, Mr. Markham.
I had my hand up before, but we got into public before. Just so I'm clear on Dave's motion here, the motion is to suspend the law for this group so that we can try this out for this year.
The motion is to approve the street closure. You may interpret it as you will, but the motion is to approve the street closure.
Okay, I guess my question is to Dave is if the intent is to suspend the law for this closure.
Mr. Knudsen?
I think I gave pretty good rationale for why I made the motion to approve the street thing. Suspending the law is not the intent here, but trying to encourage an event that has been long in the planning and part of our history is the rationale for this. Okay. So I can understand concerns that both Trustee Smith and Trustee Markle are expressing right now about this. But again, I'm making this motion in support of continuing the Mountain Harvest Festival and in support of the people that have stepped up to the plate to make this happen. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ms.
For clarification. I'm sorry, Mary, I had a couple of things.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks. Okay, so I, in general, agree. I think that if there's a mechanism for us to allow this to go forward, we don't have an alternative at this point. And I would like to remind everybody that at the last meeting, it was the applicants who requested that they be removed from the agenda. So this is not just the board who's been delaying this. These guys, for whatever reason, decided that last time they didn't want to be on it. So I think that there's plenty of blame all around, and without pointing any fingers, I would like to find a way to move forward. And I think that if we can get some assurance from our attorney or some authoritative source that we have the authority to do this, I'm okay voting for it. Without that, I don't see how we can, in good conscience, decide that because somebody wants to go around the law, an ordinance, to say, okay, like, because we like you, you worked hard for it, go ahead, go for it. You know, I don't see any justification for it, barring a legal opinion or some other. Again, it seems like we have ordinances that we're not following, we're not enforcing. So it makes me question as to the purpose of having ordinances in the first place. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Markle. Mr. Stelter.
I just want to say that when Mountain Harvest Fest started, we had an ordinance that there was no alcohol allowed in the park. And we changed that by allowing it as an experimental thing. And it turned out that it worked really well. And then now it's virtually everything has alcohol at the park in our major events. So I think we're at the situation where we were before. Right now, this is nitpicking about the closure of the street. I think that we should just go ahead and take care of this business now and just end the endless debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bookout.
I'm just curious if you can see it as multiple different street closures so that it's not necessarily like running into one another, but there's I think you can have a street closure application that is applied in these different segments so that, if that's the real issue around this ordinance, which I hear that you don't want to just be going against ordinances here and there for whatever reason. But I think if you're, if there needs to be some amendment to the street closure to where the street needs to be open from a certain time at night to a certain time in the morning in order to meet that requirement so that it's not outside of what is in the ordinance, I feel like that's like not a deal breaker in terms of this situation. So I think that there's ways to work with that ordinance and still allow this to happen.
Thank you, Ms. Bookout. Yeah, Ms. Littlefield, I see you have your hand up.
I certainly thought I heard your attorney say that those regulations you're referring to about the street closures applied to the administrator's ability to be able to make those, and that there was broader authority existing with you, the trustees, to be able to make this closure happen. That's what I heard your attorney say when he spoke to this at the beginning of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Patterson?
Thank you very much. I'm pretty sure the administrator can't just on her own change the ordinances as per her whim. So there are laws on the books. I would have hoped everybody had already read those. Section 11-1-80 street closure permit, can exceed in 5 hours duration. There also needed to be the police report in writing. And I also wonder how the fire department would weigh in on this, given that it's like 2.5 full days. Thank you very much. I just don't think that you'd have to amend this ordinance. That's the first thing you'd have to do. Get the wording right and then vote on it, a new ordinance, and then vote on it. You can't just go against the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We have a motion and a second on the table
Mayor,
to approve the street closure. Yes, Mr. Markham.
I move to amend the main motion to approve the street closure pending a revised schedule complying with town ordinance.
Okay, do I have a second on that amendment? Unmute yourself, Paige.
They're not working. I'll unmute. I mean, I'll second. Sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to amend the main motion to approve it pending a revised plan. Would you like to put the,
Revised schedule complying with our ordinance.
okay, schedule complying with. the
And
town
and if I could add, just for everyone's edification, looking at the schedule for street closure, I think the Friday meets the 5 hours. The Sunday is good because you can do 10 hours on Sunday. It's Saturday that is exceeding the 5. Just
okay. All right. Any further discussion from the board on the amendment to the ordinance? Yes. Or to the motion? Yeah, Mr. Pearson.
I was somewhat expecting Trustee Markle to say that this would be approved pending a legal opinion on whether we can do this. That's what I was hoping the second the amendment would be. So I think this further creates kicking the can down the road, and I'm going to be voting against it. Thank you.
All right. Anything else from the board? All right. Anything from the public on the amendment to the main motion? Yes, Ms. Watson.
So I'd like to remind you again about the length of your meetings and these complicated things that you keep taking on. And we have
Ms. Watson,
so many
we
issues.
are taking comment.
I know.
on
What
the
I'm
amendment
saying is you're
to the
amending
main
it. Don't speak over
motion.
me, please. Yeah, what
No.
I'm saying is, okay, tell me what the amendment to the main motion is. Maybe I'm not hearing you right. Repeat
Pending
it,
a
please.
revised schedule in compliance with the town ordinance.
Setting a revised schedule in compliance. So you're not talking about changing the ordinance. You're just wanting
No.
to revise the schedule in compliance.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yes, Ms. Smith.
You know, I just wanted to bring up that I wrote a memo to Corinne on July 14th, expressing my concerns about the ordinance not being followed. And nothing was provided to our applicants to that I can tell, to let them know that there were some concerns. So again, this is not the fault of the Harvest Festival folks. Corinne, you should have let them know. I'm really sorry, but here we are in this morass, and there was some time to get this fixed. Thank you.
Ms. Ferguson. Ms. Ferguson.
I wasn't going to speak to it, but I will. So first, on the application, the ordinance that is in reference that addresses the street closure process and permit is clearly stated and is attached to a permit when it's provided to people who are doing a street closure. Second, the ordinance is specific again to the administrative review, what the process is for a review and approval by the town administration. And when it goes above and beyond that approval, it is then goes to the Board of Trustees. It does not say that in the ordinance, and it doesn't say that anywhere in the code either. The ordinance is only for the town administrator to approve the process, not for the Board of Trustees to approve the length of time. Apologies, the length of time, not the process. So when an application is provided that went beyond the 5 hours, the applicants were told that I couldn't approve that, and it had to go to the Board of Trustees for approval. That, again, that is it. So I take exception to continually being called out in public meetings.
Do you realize you have never said to us in a meeting that there was a 5 hour? I looked it up for myself. So I am really sorry. I'm quite upset because I think there's a cross communication of information going through. And again, we get nobody said that we had to make an exception, Corinne. That was never provided.
It's
So I'm
on the
gonna stop right there.
application. Apologies. It's
Okay.
on the application and that is why I sent it to the board.
All right, let's go ahead and vote on the, yeah, okay, Mr. Conklin.
And I'm just happy to reiterate again, as I said, I haven't had a lot of time here to try to research this, but that code provision is the administrative authority to close a street. And to say that there are general police powers and powers under Title 31 that are vested to statutory towns that get exercised through the Board of Trustees that allow you to regulate your streets. And so I expect that there is authority within there to allow for a longer street closure if that is in the best interest of the town as determined by the Board of Trustees, taking into account all of the things that you've discussed tonight, like public health and safety. And so, I expect that there is that general legal support for the board to exercise that power.
Thank you, Mr. Conklin. Ms. DeLuca.
It would be helpful for us if we could get some clarity around the motion regarding scheduling. Because again, being down to the wire here, those details of how you're defining scheduling in compliance with the ordinance is really vague. And we need more clarity on what is on the table right now, because it's very confusing. We've kind of gone around in a circle. Thank you.
Would you like to clarify, please, Mr. Markle?
I guess, as I read it, has been pointed out, and I understand that the authority ultimately rests with the board to determine what ordinances exist and how they're applied. And we have pretty broad authority here, but I feel like since we have an ordinance here that strictly explicitly states how street closures and permits are supposed to work, and it indicates that a street closure shall not exceed 5 hours in duration except on Sundays and state recognized holidays, when it can be closed for up to 10 hours. I think it would make sense to have a 5-hour closure for Friday, 5-hour closure for Friday, and a 10-hour closure for Sunday. As I read it, that would comply with section 11180 part I of, L of our ordinance.
Okay, all right. We have an amendment to the main motion saying pending a revised schedule in compliance with the town ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, I'm voting a nay.
Okay, so we have, who were the ayes?
Me.
Mayor,
All right.
may I poll?
Yeah, let's poll.
Thank you. One moment. I need to reopen the sheet. Trustee Knutson,
Nay.
Trustee Smith,
Aye.
Trustee Markle,
Aye.
Trustee Valentine,
Nay.
Trustee Stelter,
I'm sorry, we didn't hear you. I still didn't hear you.
Trustee Stelter,
Up or down? Okay, down. All right, it's a nay. All right, that amendment does not pass. We are back to the main motion to approve the street closure. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Hey.
All right, that motion passes. All right, let's move on with the establishment of goals for town administrator for the remainder of existing contract. In our packets, we have the 3 goals that the town already, or that the board has already talked about. We were asked to go ahead and decide what goals would be needed for town administrator to be able to earn a bonus. So, what are the board's suggestions? And why don't we take them in the form of a motion? And that way we can say yay, nay, and get on with it. All right, Mr. Knudsen.
I suggested we made some very difficult decisions and had quite a bit of discussion up to this point. And I'd really like to request that we have a few minutes break.
Oh, okay. So you're making a motion to take a 5-minute break?
I'd like to make a motion. We have a 5-minute break.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. 5 minutes. We'll be back at 9 or 8:45.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, I know. Yeah.
God. What the fuck is wrong with them?
They're willing to
What the fuck?
they're willing
That's the ordinance. Are we going to follow the law or not? You know, it's like, fucking A, you know what? You're jumping out of this tank so that you're fucking this.
Doggle, you don't get to do this. Come on. Let's get you some treats.
Mary, if you can hear me, your mic is unmuted.
We're each going to get one.
Mary,
Junkios.
Mary, your mic's unmuted. Mary, are you there?
Yeah, who's talking?
That's Thomas. Your mic is on right now. We heard you. Your dog's getting treats.
Yes, the dogs are getting treats.
Okay, just so you know, you got a hot mic there.
Thank you. I'm glad I didn't say anything nasty to the dogs who were scratching at the door.
Well, other people were saying pretty nasty things, so you might want to warn them that their mic is hot too.
I didn't hear any of that.
Sorry, you missed it. It was pretty good.
Anybody else recording?
Could be John's mic. Might want to let him know.
Yeah.
Corinne, can you mute John?
Okay, we're back at it. Who knows how long?
Corinne, can you go ahead and mute John?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, Mary, can you hear me?
Can't talk to you. Yes.
Sorry. When we get back in session, I'm wondering if I could make a motion to rearrange. I'm looking at the time, it's 8:45.
Yeah.
And
All right, Paige, you need to stay back from your computer a little bit. Because your mic
there.
doesn't pick you
How's
up.
that? Sorry. It would just be really nice to put 7 ahead of 6.
Put 7 instead of 6?
Ahead of 6.
Sure.
So we could try to get, I really think we should get that dealt with so we can get started. Time's of the essence for that.
Yeah, go
And I can
ahead.
make a motion.
Yeah.
Want me to do that right now?
Yeah, because I'm going to call this meeting back to order. So go ahead with your motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we move item 7 under new business ahead of number 6.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? All right. We are moving it. All right, town administrator goals. Yes, Mr. Markham.
I would like to move to go to executive session, but I am not sure if we can have 2 different reasons for executive session in the same,
Sure,
or
we
if we
can.
need to have. Okay, then very well, I move that we go into executive session for discussion of a personnel matter under CRS 246402-2F and not involving any specific employees who have requested discussion of the matter in open session, any member of this body or any elected official, the appointment of any person to fill an office of this body or of an elected official, or personnel policies that do not require the discussion of matters personal to particular employees. And for conference with town attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS 246402-4B.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Discussion?
If I may, if you could just add to your motion with as much specificity as possible without compromising the purpose of the
Yes.
executive session, what
Very good.
therefore the
Okay.
purposes are.
To discuss matters critical to personnel and to receive legal advice specific to Chapter 11 or Municipal Code Section 11-180, street closure and permits.
So this 11-180, is that what?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Excuse me, I have a comment.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of going into something on a personnel matter unless we've identified if there are individuals that are going to be discussed, that those individuals have a chance to be able to say they want this in a public session rather than a private executive session. And I'm not sure that that loophole has been satisfied. So I'll be voting against the executive session. I think that if it's discussions about goals for the administrator, that should be done in public.
Okay. Any other discussion? Yes, Ms. Smith.
I just probably echo the same thing. I'm not quite sure exactly what we're doing. But as long as we don't
I can elaborate.
violate. Okay, thank you.
So I have concerns regarding the duties of the clerk being fulfilled, public criticism of employees, have a technical a terrifying event email that I would like to discuss, and I would like advice from our attorney specific to street closures.
Okay. Then it's up to the clerk whether she wants this discussed in public or private.
And also the email has to do with a different employee as well.
Can we physically do it?
I was going to say, we are not in charge of specific employees. You need to take your issues to the town administrator.
I don't know how to get more specific without breaching the reasons for executive session. I don't know what else to do.
All right, Mr. Conklin, I mean, it seems to me that we are moving outside of where the board holds responsibility. The board holds responsibility not to deal with specific employees outside the town manager. And it seems to me that Mr. Markle is trying to drag us into an executive session in which we will be discussing personnel outside of the town manager. There are procedures in the personnel manual to deal with this outside of the board interference. As we were told in the CIRSA training, in the DOLA training, and in other and in your trainings, the board should stay out of personnel issues. And here we are going right into it. Do you have an opinion on this, Mr. Conklin?
I mean, I generally concur with respect to personnel matters. It is a little unclear to me if there is wrapped up in that kind of a policy or performance function, that something that's not necessarily a like performance review, or it's more of, I don't know. It seems like there may be something that is strictly outside the job performance of an individual employee that hasn't had an opportunity to request this request that this be addressed in or outside of an executive session. I would say that if in the executive session we feel that it's not appropriate, we can shut it down, and that's the end of the discussion in executive session, if the board wishes to move into executive session at all.
Okay, Mr. Knudsen.
In the light of the comments from our attorney, I agree that when we go into executive session, we need to be diligent about what things are outside the executive session. So some of my concerns are alleviated by that comment. I did want to hear from the town administrator whether she wants the discussion concerning her specifically to be in public or to be in executive session. Thank you.
Public.
All right. Mr. Stelter.
I just want to say that we have the opportunity in an executive session to disagree, that we are to protest that we are not following the law and executive session. And I want to caution my fellow trustees that we are fully a policy board. We are not doing micromanaging the town. Thank you.
Yes, Mr.
An
Markle.
elaboration might be helpful. This is not regarding the role as administrator, but rather the role as clerk. And since the administrator and the clerk are the same person, I don't know how else we can deal with clerk issues, because we can't go through the administrator for that. Secondly, the issue is a policy matter. The matter regarding an additional employee is just basically, I feel that if there's not a policy, we need one immediately. And if there is a policy, it's very important to note that it has been breached.
Okay. Ms. Watson.
Hello?
Hello.
Oh, I was just trying to get on the meeting when I was in the waiting room. I tried raising my hand and it took a while, but I wasn't commenting. I might though in the future.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye.
Did you have another comment, Mr. Knudsen?
Yes, I was trying to look up in the employee, in the personnel manual, what is regarded as far as problem solving, grievances, a lot of times with covered staff, I'll call them, that are supervised by the town administrator, there's a specific procedure for outside review when a policy has been violated, as you're stating. And I think it seems that going through the personnel policy procedure would be the first step. I'm looking at page 46 on grievances. And it says available to any employee for resolution of complaints, disputes, or concerns regarding interpretation or application of town policies regarding discipline. Any sense such dispute, complaint, or concern may be raised as a grievance pursuant to the grievance procedure. The ability of grievance procedure shall in no way limit or restrict the town's employment at will powers. And then it goes on to say it's a formal process for the resolution of grievances. And there's a bunch of steps. So I just want to point that out to the board that there is a personnel policy that covers those kind of things. If it's a health and safety issue, that might be a different thing, but
it's a security issue and it's not a grievance.
Okay.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the table to go into executive session for discussion of a personnel matter. And this is not, as again, it goes back to the clerk. Do you wish this to be held in public or in executive session?
Public.
Okay, she wishes it to be held in public, so we cannot go into executive session on that regard. So we can go into executive session for a conference with the town attorney for purpose of receiving legal advice on questions under CRS 24-6-4024B regarding ordinance 11-1-80. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Oh. Opposed? All right. That motion passes. Corinne, how long will it take you to set up the executive session?
Just a few minutes. I'm working on it right now.
All right. So we're going to hang until we get into executive session.
Regarding the discussion about clerk and procedure.
Yeah.
Would we want to do that when we come back?
Yes.
Or okay.
Because we have the breakout room now, so we can go ahead and oh, my notification disappeared.
Sorry, hold on. It won't let me create the new one for 30 seconds. Just hold on one moment.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Ten more seconds. While we move, there is a question from the public asking, when does the board anticipate returning to the main meeting?
No idea.
10:30.
Well, we have to be back by 9:30 because we have to extend the meeting.
Sounds like we'll be back by 9:29.
Jeff, are you having issues joining the room?
I was getting a drink of water. Sorry.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
What ordinance is it they're considering? Can someone tell me?
Mayor, you're muted.
Mary, you're muted.
Thank you, Thomas. The time is now 9:12 p.m. and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were Trustee Stelter, Trustee Markle, Trustee Smith, Trustee Valentine, Trustee Knutson, Attorney Conklin, and Mayor Backren. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into executive session occurred during the executive session, or that improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. All right, hearing none, the next item is the one we were still working on, establishment of goals for town administrator. Yeah, you're muted, Paige.
And I'll just start out. I'd actually like to direct us to 2 emails we received from Michelle Pattison. One actually was on April 16th, and she put together a list of items for a trustee handbook that would be available to every trustee. And I can share that later, but I just think that might be a really good idea of something to have ready, put together by Corinne and have ready for a new administrator. It would also be quite handy for them. The information is there's a handbook, town meeting structure, board decorum, all active contracts, all active MOUs, any studies have been completed for the town in the last 2 years, any ongoing studies, all active and submitted pending grants, the most recent financial audit, the current budget in Excel format, purchasing policy, full org chart, last completed master plan, and I would like to add the personnel handbook. Because these are things that some of these are very hard to find, and yet, I didn't even know they existed. And then my second proposal also comes from Michelle, and she just sent this Friday, July 22nd. And I'm sorry that I didn't think to ask to have it put it in the packet for this discussion. But she, if you remember, she talks about compiling a list of all projects that are in progress or that have been assigned by the board or administrator to staff. And list can include for each project. So it's a project list, and I don't know if you all remember it, but I think that might be a nice way of having a starting point. If we had that information, a starting point for a new administrator, and would help all of us as well in the staff.
Okay. We have 2 goals on the table. What does the board think about those 2 goals? Mr. Mark.
I think while that stuff would be helpful, I'm not sure if it merits. My understanding is that we're trying to figure out things that would merit a bonus. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The last thing you said?
My understanding is that my understanding is that our discussion is to try and find something that would be cause to provide a bonus to our town administrator. And Mary affirmed that that's correct.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. But
okay, yeah, that's my understanding of this conversation. So the stuff that you mentioned, I think, while extremely valuable, is pretty standard management. The status of projects, what's expected, who's doing what, when, is pretty much management in a nutshell. So if we feel like that's not been happening, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess it's up to us if we feel that that's above and beyond, but if that's something that's rather than a bonus, I feel like it's a deficiency.
Other comments from the board? Mr. Knutson?
I might suggest an additional one.
Yeah.
I'd like to suggest that reviews, goals, and job descriptions be updated for each of the direct reports she has, and that those are documented in their personnel files. So whoever the new administrator is can look at what the history is with their direct reports and can see what the goals that have been established now that Town Clerk Ferguson has supervised them for a number of years. And I think it'd be valuable for whoever that new person might be, to be able to review those. So again, that was a current review, like a performance review, which is required, and goals for each of the direct reports and any job description updates.
Okay. Any board input on that?
I just wanted to note a motion was made to get that flow chart of employees and to have job descriptions for each one of them has already been asked of Corinne. And we haven't seen those, but that was asked a few meetings ago. So just
Well, I definitely have seen all the employees and the flow chart on the employees.
right. No, we have that, but we don't have the job descriptions to go with.
Well, that is again outside our scope.
That
You're
was
asking for stuff outside our scope.
a motion was made by the trustees to get that. I don't have it in front of me, but that was a topic and a motion was made. So I just.
All right. Mr. Stelter.
I'd like to concur with Dave and say that we need to get job descriptions, especially for everybody in the entire town. One of the things that happens is we get mission creep when you don't have a description. And I know we have to be flexible, but you have to add on compensation when somebody goes on to another task or another job. So I want to make sure that we take care of that.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Okay, I do have one suggestion. I would like to see a person or a firm hired to complete the master plan so that we have a direction and a step forward on this. Anything else from the board? Mr. Knudsen.
Yeah, again, I'd like to add another goal to that. And I know this is a little bit outside the scope, but I'm very concerned about safe routes to Volunteer Park and safe routes to the elementary school. And I'd like to see Corinne really take the bull by the horns and try to pull the people together, like the county and the school district and whoever else it might be, CDOT, and make this happen before I'm just really concerned. What's it going to take? A kid to get hit by a truck?
Dave, we have the grant. The problem is we have to get a contract in place with CDOT prior to moving on the grant. The grant will fulfill the safe routes to school thing. And it has school buy-in, it has county buy-in.
That isn't helpful for me right now, Mary. What I'm trying to get at is it's not safe right now, and it needs to be safe before school starts. This means crosswalks, this means crossing guards, and this means several years ago, we got the highway department in the county to paint lines that allowed safe bike traffic to Volunteer Park. So what I'm talking about is trying to make the routes safe. I don't want to wait for a grant. So please ask for clarification instead of lecturing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And the other point is we can only take it to town limits. Corinne cannot mandate or deal with something all the way to Volunteer Park. I mean,
I'm asking for a driver and leadership and trying to pull the parties together to make this happen. We did it in Chaco and we had no authority, and signs went up for bikes and a bike path was made on one side of the road, and we weren't a government. So that's what I'm asking for. I'm wanting leadership from her to make safer routes for our kids to Volunteer Park and to the elementary school. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Anything else from the board?
I may be, again, I I wasn't looking at this as things to be that we would use to decide on a bonus. I was kind of thinking of things that she could get completed that would provide an easier transition to a new administrator. So let me just throw this out. And I know whenever I changed jobs, people wanted to know all about my computer. So I'm thinking more of a list of information about the town computers and a list of the vendors that the town uses, so that there's an easy way for a new person to be able to access that information instead of it being piecemeal. And when I say town computers, I guess I mean who has them and who has the password to them, so that people aren't left, so they can't leave without any information being provided to get into a computer. Or is that what Phones Plus does? Would they be able, if somebody left and didn't leave their password, and Phones Plus just start over on that computer?
Yes.
Yes, they
That's why
can.
you're muted. Okay. Then I withdraw that one, but I was wondering if it wouldn't be good to have a list of all the vendors and things that somebody new would need to know.
Okay. All right, so what we have right now is, so we have the 3 goals that are in the packet. We have trustee handbooks, a list of all the projects, current reviews and goals for each direct report and any revised job description, leadership in creating safe routes to school and to volunteer park, and a list of vendors. And a person to lead the master plan. Okay. Does the board want to make a, yes, Mr. Markle?
I question the wisdom of trying to load a bunch of extra tasks on Corinne's plate right now. I don't think that this will be productive in any fashion, and essentially what we're going to have is a bunch of all this stuff that has accumulated over the past 3 years, water system. I'm not even going to start the list, but all the things that are hanging out there, and we're just adding some more things hanging out there at this point. And further, I think that each of these should be considered an individual motion.
Okay. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify from Thomas. So are you suggesting you think it would be better not to have a big long laundry list, and let's allow Corinne to be able to complete the existing list of things that need some attention?
Yeah, I think that would be, if the existing list were completed, that would be worth a bonus.
Do we have an existing list?
Yes.
Well,
yes,
we do
have the documents that you sent us, Paige.
What's
Well,
that?
Ms. Ferguson has provided a list of all her jobs several months back of everything that's on her plate.
What I remember is some were to do, and you were actually at the next meeting, we were going to submit a new list, which, so we're all kind of working backwards. And when you say in the past, you're referring to the table?
Yes.
And the priorities? Yes.
Yes. So would somebody like to make a motion on something here? Yes, Ms. Ferguson.
I just want to make sure that well, a motion hasn't been made. Maybe I'll wait to see what actually is moved on.
Okay.
Can we roll back a second? What spreadsheet were you just talking about?
Oh, this was a spreadsheet that was provided, gosh, I don't know how many months ago, Corinne, but it listed everything that she had been directed to do and everything that she was currently doing and what the progress was on all of them. And it was several pages long.
Okay. That would be handy to see as a trustee.
Okay. It's in the packet. It's in old packets. So you can go back to old packets and find it. All right. So we have a motion of some kind. All right. Obviously, we don't want to do anything on this. So since there isn't a motion, yes, Ms. Smith.
You know what? I would like to make a motion on one very specific thing that I think is doable in light of everything else. And It is, I'd like to make a motion that Corinne find a person or form, since we have money for a consulting firm, to begin the completion of the master plan.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Discussion from the board? Yes, Mr. Markham.
For clarification, this is to be used as justification for a pay bonus.
Ms. Ferguson?
So, a couple of things. First, my request that at the end of my contract that the board consider a bonus for what I have for the entirety of my time as administrator, and the goals, that things that the board wanted me to complete before the new administrator took place, was a request that was made in an executive session. And
It was
was
mentioned by
then brought
Mary
up
in
in a
public.
public meeting without any discussion. Second, I really feel that it's just getting very convoluted. Again, it was a request that the board look at the fact that a faction of the board had made it clear that they weren't in support. And so I thought it was in the best interest of our community and everyone involved, including myself, that I just let you know that I had no intention of asking for my contract to be renewed. I took that fight right off the table for everyone involved, so that we could move forward. And now I feel that we're sitting here about 4 months before the end of the year, and everyone's trying to decide some brand new things that they want me to do in a very short amount of time to earn a bonus in 4 months. That's not what I was asking.
Okay, that was as Mary had phrased it while we began our discussion today.
Yes, that is correct. That is how I phrased it.
So Corinne, what did you mean?
Okay. So in the executive session, discussion was had about the appearance that basically several members of the board, at a time when a full board wasn't here, called for an executive session, which I agreed to. I was happy with that. I wanted it to happen, to have a discussion about the fact that about 7 months before the end of my contract, they had no intention of renewing it. They wanted to let it be known right then that my contract they did not want to renew my contract.
All right, Corinne, I need
Yep.
to just stop you for a second. We need
Okay.
a motion to continue the meeting.
I'd like to move that we continue the meeting for 15 minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that motion carries. I'm sorry, Miss.
That's okay.
you
That's all
can
right.
continue.
So at that time, I stated candidly to the board what I felt the appearance was, what they were doing, and made some conversation, which was debated, about whether or not it was effectively terminating my contract before the end of my contract, to avoid any kind of severance or any of that discussion. And so what I asked from the board was that that they consider at the end of my contract a portion payout of the severance. At that time, it was discussed by board members that instead of really looking at it as a payout on the severance from the position of administrator, we really should look at what I have accomplished as administrator and goals to be set, the completion of the goals that had already been set by the board at the end of that time, and use it more as a bonus. So that was my expectation. I anticipated that the board was going to discuss of the laundry list of items that have been worked on, what the main things were that the board wanted me to complete. And at that point, again, we were at nearly 7 months out. Now we're at 4 months before the end of my term as the administrator. I had no intention of not working here, so a lot of information will be provided to the new administrator when they come in. But that's what I was looking for. I feel that I deserved and earned it. I didn't expect to have to debate it though for months and months in the meetings.
Well, and I apologize then for my misunderstanding and then my mischaracterization of all of this.
Well, it
So
happened in a
perhaps-
previous meeting as well, so.
So perhaps what we need to do then is to continue this, and then you provide us again with that list, an updated list of all that things that you're doing.
Okay.
And then we can look at that and prioritize.
Okay.
Yes, that makes so much more sense.
Okay, well, we have a motion and a second on the table to do the hire a firm to complete the master plan. Let's go ahead and vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Was that an aye, Rick?
Mary, are you taking public comment on this?
Yes, we will take, well,
Yes, I,
all right.
We need public comment.
I.
Okay, Ms. Pattison?
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. I was hoping to comment before the vote. I actually disagree with making it the current administrator's responsibility to hire a contractor for the master plan, because that hiring process itself is going to take months. And by the time you have someone hired, there's no possible way it's going to be done during the current administrator's contract. And what you're doing is essentially tying the hands of the next administrator before you even know who that is or what their skill set might be. So I guess it's a done deal now, but I would hope that the board might reconsider. And this is tough because I know it's a very high priority, but I think you've got to allow your incoming administrator to work on this major project that is going to take a long time, and make sure that they have a voice and some buy-in to that process rather than putting it in place before you even know who that's going to be. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Nay.
We have two hands up still.
Yeah,
Three
we
hands
still have.
up.
Well, and Mr. Stelter.
Hello?
I just,
Will you take my comment? Oh, sorry.
Not at the moment. Mr. Stelter is speaking and has the floor.
I just wanted to say that we're hiring this person for the city. This person is not working for Corinne. This is a process that is about 25 years behind the times. We need to get it done. And this is the problem with most of the things that come before the town. It gets pushed off for one reason or another, and pretty soon it never gets done. And that's what's happened with the master plan for at least 25 years. And it needs to be done now. So let's just get it done.
Okay. Whoever is 2296. Phone number ending in
Hello?
2296.
Yes, I'm 2296. This is Bill Bruner. I just have to say, I'm shocked. I don't know why I would be, but I am. To hear discussion of payout of a severance at the end of a contract as though it were some bonus owed. Severance is when a contract is terminated prematurely before the end that's been agreed upon. And I find it absolutely inappropriate to even be considering paying a severance fee for not renewing a contract. That makes no sense at all. And this is a pointless exercise. If you go back and look through the tasks assigned in the previous evaluations and stuff, it's obvious. This is a long goodbye. And why do meetings take so long? This is a good example. This is all ridiculous. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Patterson.
This is Suzanne. Were you looking for me?
No, I have Christine Patterson with her hand up. All right, Suzanne.
Sorry, here I am
Hello-
again.
hello?
Sorry.
Oh,
All right,
okay. You go
Christine, are
ahead,
you there?
Christina. Yeah.
I am here. I wish that vote could just be done again because there was no public comment. I really do think this was sort of on the docket for years. Rick Stelter is correct, but it didn't get to it. And to just do the honor to the new administrator coming in to really deal with it in the way they want to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Watson.
Hi, this is Suzanne Watson. I agree. I don't think it's right at the very last minute to dump the details of figuring out the comprehensive plan on Corinne. You have the budget coming up. That's pretty involved. That's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. It's a difficult thing. But what I will say, I do think the comprehensive plan, it's been a long time. It can wait a little bit more, but there is some preparatory work that can be done through the Planning Commission, and that is to restore the zoning codes that were gutted from the zoning ordinance and put in the building code back to the zoning code. That was an important part of our comprehensive plan at one time. Steep slope development, floodplain development, the fences, for instance. There were many codes that were the floodplain prevention and also the floodplain variance that keeps confusing people now. That all belongs back in the zoning code. That's something the Planning Commission can do. And they can put it in front of the board. It doesn't cost any money and you don't need a professional to help. You just need to go back to 2017, 2018 when this happened and reverse everything. Just look at everything that was done. Perhaps Corinne could put that in front of the Planning Commission, but it should be fairly simple. I don't think you need to be, it should help clarify things before you start on the comprehensive plan again. So we're kind of back to square one again. And but I don't think it's fair at this point to start this hiring process and I hope you can reverse that vote and you can. You're the board. Thanks.
Ms. Bookout.
I agree with Ms. Watson. I think it's inappropriate to be piling things on Corinne's plate at the 11th hour. And I would just like to say to Bill Bruner's comment, it's totally inappropriate and offensive to be speaking of Corinne in that way. And I hope that you guys can treat your employees with more kindness and decency than that.
Thank you, Ms. Bookout. Mr. Markle.
I suppose, are we gonna vote on this again?
I think it's probably appropriate we vote on this again.
Okay, yeah, because I don't recall having.
You need a reverse motion?
No,
Sorry.
we'll just.
I got muted there.
I apologize. That was solely accidental.
I believe you. So, and the motion is to hire a master planner.
Yeah, to hire a firm to complete the master plan.
Okay. Kind of out of the blue, but I think that this was something that was given, and again, are we still under the topic of the administrator? Like, is this for the administrator's performance or like additional outgoing things to do?
It was.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's establishment
It seems
of
like we're
goals.
like way off topic here, and I just want to make sure that I'm speaking to the right issue, because what I have is an administrative review from July 27th, 2021 that says the lack of update. Noted issues, the lack of update on the mapping and asset inventory, slow progress on the master plan, and lack of available data for the GDS hydro study. So that was 12 and actually almost exactly 12 months ago. So I don't think that adding this at this time with this time frame is going to be fruitful. So I'm going to be voting against it.
Okay.
I thought we already voted.
We
I
did.
know, I mean,
We
We need
did,
to
but
unvote. And it's 9:41.
I know it's 9:41. I am not exactly sure what the procedure here would be. Maybe what we do. Mr. Knudsen, have you got a suggestion?
Yes, I do have a suggestion. I suggest we just redo the vote because I didn't see the public hands up at the time,
Okay.
and I want to reconsider my vote
All
based
right.
on those public comments, and
Yep.
I'm going to be changing my vote as a
Okay.
result.
All right. So the motion is to have Corinne hire a firm to complete the master plan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey,
Nay.
All right, that motion fails. All right, I suggest we have 3 minutes left. I suggest we either look at the advertisement for the town administrator with a motion to extend the meeting, or we leave.
and I would like, we have to do disbursements.
Yeah, we have to do disbursements. So I think maybe what we should do is disbursements unless people want to continue on with this agenda.
I really wish, I don't want to wait 2 more weeks to go through the job description. I really would implore
Well-
everybody to stick around. We
Well,
can do that and disbursements.
would you be happy with, we have it, do we have that? We have that job description. If we
Right.
make any suggestions and just supply them to you and you can bring it back to us.
Except we still have to wait 2 weeks for us to
Yeah.
advertise, get
Okay.
it going. I'd really like to get this going.
Well, what if we authorize you to take our suggestions, incorporate them into the thing and then move forward with it?
Okay, and John and I could do that, but what's really important, and I don't know that the trustees can answer the questions, and I know we're not, well, we better extend
Yeah,
the
we
meeting.
better extend the
Okay.
meeting.
I'd like to make a motion, we extend the meeting for 15 minutes. I also want to make sure we cover some of the parks report because we wanted to at least inform the board about our last meeting.
We'll give it a
Second.
shot. All right. We have a motion to extend the meeting for 15 minutes. All in second,
Second.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
So, and all that sounds fine to me, as long as that's okay to do. And probably the biggest thing is, I don't know exactly, sorry, I don't have it, here it is the benefits. I don't quite completely understand what Corinne's current benefits are. And that was,
Oh, yeah, and some of
highlighted
that
area.
was, yeah, some of that was specific to her position.
Power cord, because I'm running out of power.
Dave?
oh, he did lose power. Dave, you're in the dark.
Dave. Oh, my God.
Ah.
All
But it's
right, there he is.
So that would be the only thing is if I could get clarification from the staff on those questions. And, again, you all need to say if you agree with those proposed benefits.
We could do that.
So if
All
you
right,
all,
so I tell you what, let's have a motion to empower the Personnel Committee to go ahead and make revisions to the ad with board input and then post it. Can I get
Move
a
it.
motion to that effect?
I
Yeah.
move that we direct the personnel committee to receive board input and post the ad at the next possible moment.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion from the board?
could I
Yes.
just ask that the trustees get their comments to us at a specific deadline? And I won't make the deadline. I'll let the rest of you talk amongst yourselves.
All right. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, that motion passes. All right.
Let's do it tomorrow.
Well, could you at
Could
least?
How about
give
by
us-
Monday? That will
Monday
give
would,
us time to
Monday
go
would
over the
work for
weekend
me.
To look at it.
Does
So I
Monday
could do
work
it
for
by
everybody?
Monday. Yeah,
Okay.
all right, so by
But-
Monday.
But Corinne, I think I'll need your input on what your current benefits are.
Okay,
Because I had highlighted things. I don't know what AFLAC is and things like
Right.
that. John and I weren't familiar.
okay,
Okay.
I can provide you that. And Mayor Backren, trustee Stelter's hand is up.
Oh, Mr. Stelter.
I'd just like to say that we need our baseline but every executive position that I've ever worked on, I've negotiated my benefits and pay package, compensation package at the time the job was offered or slightly before.
But I think we need to put out some baseline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The examples I looked at on CML, et cetera, they really were quite prescriptive on the benefits. So I just was following that lead when John and I put it together. So.
All right. So then let's move on to disbursements.
Before we go,
Yeah.
can I
Yeah.
can I get the copy of that original document? It would be helpful to me so that I can make my edits and just send it back to you rather than
Oh.
describing my edits.
So Word document.
Oh, so I will send the Word document to each of you so you can edit away. And then we will update the flyer. But are you all okay with the flyer? Do you like that idea?
It's beautiful.
John did a good job.
Hey, John on today.
Okay,
Great
John
job.
did that?
Yes.
Oh my God. Go John. Beautiful, John. All right. So let's move on to disbursements. Would somebody like a motion? Yes?
Trustee Knudsen hand is up.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
King.
I've been trying to be patient here. I was struck by the low ball nature of the salary range. I really encourage the two of you to ask Cindy for the last salary survey we did and look at comparable time. Maybe you've already done that.
I haven't seen that survey.
Yeah, okay. I would suggest you get with Cindy and look what comparable towns are paying for their town manager, because 75 to 80 is for a planning director or a public works director, but certainly not for town administrator. And I don't think you're going to get very many people. You can broaden, if you want to start at 75, no problem, but broaden that range out, because 75 to 80, you're not going to get squat for candidates.
Well, that's what we needed to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll ask if Cindy's on the call, if Cindy's here, if you would forward that to John and myself, if you have it handy, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for your consideration. I'm worried about the candidate pool we'd get with a salary range like that.
Okay. All right. Can we move on to disbursements now? Yes, Mr. Conklin.
One comment on similarly to what Trustee Knudsen said. Under Colorado law now, you're required to post a salary range, and so
yeah,
I would recommend a larger salary range, although you give yourself discretion to arrive at something within there. And so ensuring you get a good candidate pool while still giving yourself some discretion to ensure that the salary is appropriate in light of whoever the candidates are with their qualifications. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now can we move on to disbursements?
Yes.
Okay. Can we get a motion to accept disbursements?
Move to pay the bills.
Do you want me to make it as the person who, Dave and I met with Cindy this afternoon, of course.
Go.
And here is one thing. There's an add-on that you do not have in your packet. And so I don't want to make the motion yet until I've cleared that up. Cindy let me know this afternoon that there was kind of a mess up, and the town of Paonia, and Cindy, please jump in if I get this wrong, but the town of Paonia received a check.
Okay, back up from your computer.
Oh,
can't hear you.
Sorry, God, it's terrible. The town erroneously received a check for $5,050 from the Vail organization that provides money for victims advocates.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it came to Paonia and got put into the Paonia budget inadvertently because Cindy didn't realize, the background. So we now have to repay. It should have gone to Hotchkiss.
Right.
So tomorrow there will be a check for Dave and I to sign for that amount that's going to be made out to Hotchkiss to take care of this mix-up.
Okay. All right. So do you want to make the motion then to accept disbursements?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the disbursements. And I was going to do it, accept the disbursements, which are found on page 144 to 149 of this agenda packet.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion from the board.
We should probably add an amendment to the motion to allow for that check to Hotchkiss, because we're not approving that unless we add that. The second thing is, I'm assuming that both you and Dave have seen the documentation regarding this.
I saw the check that came. Yes, I received it from Cindy tonight. So yes,
Okay.
I feel comfortable with it, that it makes
Okay,
sense.
thank
All
you. I
right.
trust that.
So there's an amendment to the main motion to include the Vail check.
Yes, the check for $5,050 to actually, and to Hotchkiss.
Right, okay. On the amendment to include the check to Hotchkiss for the Vail money, do I have a second on that motion?
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, now we have a main motion to accept the disbursements with the check to Hotchkiss for the Vail money. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. All right, your parks thing. Chelsea, you still have your hand up. Is there something you want to say?
I just
Or
would
is
like
it-
to say that typically when you're approving disbursements, it's prudent to explain them. So you would usually have a motion to approve disbursements in the amount of XYZ,
Yes.
payroll in the amount of XYZ, credit card
Yep.
payments in the
Yeah,
amount
we
of
stopped doing that.
XYZ, so that that goes into public record of exactly what you're approving, not just we approve disbursements from page 140 to 145.
Thank you, Chelsea. Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Weber was the one who insisted we change that. So thank you for your input.
Yep, and so is that legally the way we should do it?
You're legally, the way you have just done it is fine. And if you would like to do it the other way, that is fine as well.
I don't think I'm prepared to give you that breakdown,
Oh,
And-
it's okay. It's in the packet, but
but we could do it next time.
yeah,
You
we
just-
already.
The
passed
motion
it,
to
so-
approve disbursements as presented in the packet is very much legally sufficient. So
Okay. All right. Now, Dave, you wanted to do your parks thing?
Yeah, this is just very quickly. I had a written report that I submitted, but it wasn't included in the packet. So I wanted to, and I didn't have input from Rick on it. So I will, once I have Rick's input, then we'll go ahead and send it out. But basically, I wanted to let you know that we met we're meeting in parks now instead of meeting at the town hall. And so our last meeting was at Town Park, and we did a walkthrough. There are some concerns and some suggestions from our committee about what are urgent things that need to be done in that park. And we only covered half of it. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, August 16th at 4 o'clock, and we're going to be meeting in Apple Valley Park. So I just wanted to make sure people were aware of this and also give Corinne a heads up so that it's properly posted. We did have members of the public show up at the last meeting and give us some really valuable input. And that's it for parks. And just quickly on law enforcement, we offered the person from Somerset an opportunity to come in and review the tapes. She declined. She just hoped we would learn our lesson. And then we had a follow-up meeting on a couple things that Matt is going to be bringing before the board. Our next meeting with Matt will be next week, and I don't have that right in front of me.
Okay. All right. Can we get a motion to adjourn since we have not finished our agenda?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
That was the slowest second for an agenda
right,
adjournment
that-
I've ever heard.
That